Ready to rock and roll on a Friday? Mark Dykton on a vacation Friday, so we'll look to see what's going on with him. In fact, he's already thrown Caleb into the pilot seat, so Mark is just going to be playing farm heroes and making fun of us all day long. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton is over in the corner there, Caleb Zuver on the ones and twos. I'm Jeff Rickard. Big show for you today. It's Football Friday. Operation Football comes your way, 7:30. Dominic Miranda will join us from somewhere in the Indianapolis area where he and the station, Channel 13, have a big pep rally at 6 o'clock in the morning every Friday morning. Get the students there, get everybody fired up, and we're fired up. Got the Colts and Cardinals coming up on Sunday afternoon, and Mark's in a good mood today because the Cubs have stayed alive with another win last night. The Dodgers have advanced. They move on to the NLCS. And I'm just curious, Kevin Bowen, what kept your attention last night? Thursday night football or a little baseball playoff action last night?
Well, the first game obviously had a lot of late-inning drama, but after that, weird in the NFL. We always ask, when is it going to happen? And I would say last night it happened emphatically. That was an ass-kicking by the New York Giants, which I think I'm saying that correctly. Yes, the New York Giants was doing the kicking of the ass, not the Philadelphia Eagles there. 34-17. And Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo, oh boy, they're going to get very annoying quick if they're not on your football team.
How'd you like to have immediate success in New York City, James Boyd? And you know what? The headlines are going to pump those guys up. They're the saviors of the franchise. They're outstanding. They're a couple of games into their NFL careers, but at least they're excited in New York. But can you imagine what kind of pressure that goes with? Now you have to live up to that in New York.
Yeah, no pressure like it, but those dudes showed up and honestly earned that pressure going forward with the way they beat down the Eagles. I don't know how much this says about the Eagles and where they're at, but, man, that was some nasty, nasty football. Jalen Hurts and the rest of that offense looked god-awful, and they just kept making mistake after mistake. So normally where they're good in the trenches, I thought defensively they were down Jalen Carter, but still defensively they had no answers for that Giants team, especially up front. And then you look at, I think, an adjacent story to that game is the tush push. You had it 4 times in a row at one point in that game, and you could kind of see on the replays the false starts that you kind of had on the Eagles side. So I felt like if we look back at this play and come next year it's been banned or it's been remodified or whatever, it's because of that series right there where, again, I don't mind the play at all. I just think that it's officiated wrong and it's hard to kind of catch it. And if you can't catch guys being offside in real time, then what are you going to do? Because that is obviously, I feel like, the only thing that worked for Philly yesterday because the rest of the offense was trash.
Yeah, it was not all that great, but the offense was rolling, both passing and running for the Giants, and so we are off and running now on Week 6 in the National Football League. Of course, it comes to our place on Sunday afternoon over at Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts and Cardinals coming up on Sunday. And I guess the big question I have is, did we hear anything about Kyler Murray yesterday, Kevin?
Yeah, did not practice again, so that is now 2 straight days with that foot injury. So it is looking like Jacoby Brissett in what would be his first game back here inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Could be under center for those that have not kept up to tabs with what Jacoby has been doing since leaving the Colts after backing up Phillip Rivers in 2020. This is his 6th team in 6 years, so he has done the whatever. Fitzpatrick, McCown, sort of, I guess Flacco is probably the best way to put it. He's bounced around a lot. He has only thrown 1 pass with the Cardinals this year, so if he is asked to start on Sunday, it's not like he's done much with them here in 2025. So you could get dink and dunk Jacoby Brissett back in the building coming up on Sunday.
What you don't want, James Boyd, is to have a competitive game, God forbid a loss, to a Cardinals team playing with a former quarterback that was spotty for you at best coming back to haunt you. That's what you don't want on Sunday.
Yeah, and like we keep saying, the NFL is weird, but looking at just where the Cardinals are, I do think the Colts should have a stiff upper hand in this game, and I think if you're a good team, you got to go out there and handle business at home. So, it's always a lot at stake, I think, just because I think the Jaguars right on your heels as far as a division lead and trying to, again, set the pace for the rest of your division and particularly your conference. So, an opportunity that's looking to appear to kind of break your way even before the game starts. So, take advantage of those breaks.
Yeah, and looking forward to, we're just a little more than 24 hours away now for Indiana, Oregon, and we've been talking about it all week long, and I don't think I'm overstating it, KB, when I say this could potentially be the biggest football game, at least in decades, for Indiana, if not ever. as they play number 3 Oregon on the road, and a chance to kind of fight for the top of the Big Ten Conference early on.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's hyperbole at all. It would be one of the biggest wins in program history.
We're talking regular season because they just played the playoff.
Like,
right,
if they won the game, I'm saying it would be the
Right.
biggest. It'd be one of the biggest wins. I mean, news breaking here: Indiana and postseason haven't gone hand in hand very often here in their program's history. So, yes, it would be one of the biggest wins in program history. They would be in the driver's seat to play inside of Lucas Oil Stadium here in early December. I can only imagine what that scene would be like downtown. You'd be in the driver's seat for either a bye in the playoff or a home playoff game. You would have to fall on your face to miss the playoff if you were to win this game. And I would assume, unless it turned out to be like a 10-7 game, if you won this game, you might have the leader for the Heisman Trophy exiting Autzen Stadium as well. So, I mean, however you want to slice it, I mean, it is easily one of the biggest moments that this program has ever had, and quite the national stage for them to try and, certainly provide, at the very least, a better product than they did when they were on the national stage last year.
And I'm fascinated by the 2 head coaches. Obviously, Curt Cignetti really getting his chance at big-time college football. He's been a veteran, and he's bounced around. He's won wherever. I shouldn't say bounced around, but he's bounced up to Indiana. He won before. Now he's winning here. Can he continue to do that? And everybody in the world keeps praising Dan Henning or Dan Lanning, I should say. Sorry, Dan Lanning as one of the great young up-and-coming superstars in college football coaching. And the only thing missing on his young resume right now is probably a national championship. And they feel like they've got both sides of the ball this year to try and do that, James. They don't want to stumble at home against Indiana. So I know you're going to get Oregon's best shot. You know that, right?
Absolutely. So it should be a very interesting matchup, big test for IU.
What if you didn't get Oregon's best shot? What if, like, all of a sudden they just all were partying last night and tonight, and for once,
let's go
in a sporting event, you didn't get their best shot?
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Because I can't imagine
they snuck out of the team hotel. The bye week went wrong. They all were partying during the bye week.
All I know is I've seen it before. Doesn't happen very often, but I've seen it before. You would think that playing at home against a top 10 team, Oregon's going to be pretty focused, and that's what you would expect to get. But I've seen crazier things. There are still some people over there might be going, Indiana, they're not really a top 10 team. Come on. You never know. You could still sneak up on people. I don't know if Indiana can sneak up on people anymore, but we'll find out. It's still a 7.5 point spread. That hasn't moved much this week. Oregon the favorite.
Oh,
but
it's moved down a lot. It opened at about 10.
Did it?
And
I only saw it
down.
at 8.5.
Yeah, so the Indiana spread has come down, and the Colts spread has gone up.
Yeah.
And I think obviously that has a lot to do with the quarterback injury. But yeah, that Indiana spread opened up north of double digits. Now it's right around a touchdown.
Where I was getting to, the one that I'm really interested in, though, is the over-under has dropped to 53.5, which I found surprising.
Mother Nature?
I think a really good Oregon defense. I think there are people, I heard a couple of guys on one of the bet networks yesterday saying that they're worried about, can Indiana score more than 20 points against Oregon? And, Oregon in their last couple of games have had trouble getting to 30 points. They even needed some overtime against Penn State to get it done. So that's the conventional wisdom, but I kind of expect both teams just going to let it go, man. What else do you have to lose? Let's get the offenses going. So it's going to be fun to watch. That's going to be heard right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan tomorrow. Airtime at 2:30 and then the kick at 3:30. Also Purdue at Minnesota. We've talked about kind of a measuring stick game for Barry Odom and his team there. And Notre Dame just tries to keep it rolling after those early losses. They're back on track. They're a top 20 team. Now they got a home game against North Carolina State. And, Kevin, they just need to take care of business in that one.
Yeah, they got to keep winning, and try to do it in as impressive fashion as they can because the schedule is not difficult at all the rest of the way.
All right, great high school football coming up. We'll talk about that in detail. About 20 minutes from now is Operation Football with Channel 13. We team up with Dominic Miranda every Friday morning to get you ready to go and set and all that stuff for high school football tonight, and everything else comes your way with the morning check down next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning and welcome into a Football Friday. Operation Football coming your way in about 15 minutes with Dominic Miranda from Channel 13. We'll get you caught up and ready to go for all the high school football action tonight. Some big games on tap. Lawrence North at Center Grove, Chittard at Tri-West, Fishers at Westfield, Warren Central at Carmel. We'll find out about all of them coming up in a few minutes. In the meantime, we've got NFL football Sunday afternoon. Lucas Oil Stadium, 1 o'clock start. And we had another injury report, another practice yesterday. What do we know on the Colts side of things, James Boyd?
Yeah, I have to pull up the injury report again. But the main thing is that, Alec Pierce was able to practice. So that's a good sign for him moving forward. Now, we will say that last week at this time, he had practiced the full week, and then he didn't end up playing. He didn't practice the last Friday. So we'll see if he practices today, gets through the full concussion protocol for the first time in a couple of weeks. And then Kenny Moore II did not practice again, so I would expect him to be out come Sunday. Good signs that Grover Stewart was out there practicing. So those were the main people you probably want to keep an eye on.
And, Kevin, I know a lot of people are worried if they're just waking up and joining us now. What's going on with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals at quarterback right now?
Yeah, he's yet to practice this week, so never a good sign. I get veteran quarterbacks can sometimes, only practice on that Friday and still play, but, how limited would he be? A 5'10 pocket passing Kyler Murray sounds like just foaming at the mouth. Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner getting their big old paws up on him. And if he can't go, it will be Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett's last win as an NFL starter?
Got to be with the Colts back in maybe 2021.
He beat Lou Anarumo and the Bengals. 5 straight Jacoby starts last year, all of them under 170 passing yards. That's really hard to do. So if he's under center, dink and dunk, shadow Marvin Harrison Jr. with Mooney Ward and double Trey McBride, and it could get ugly.
All right. Also this weekend in the AFC South, the Seahawks taking on the Jaguars, the Titans at the Raiders. The Texans have a bye this week. And on Sunday morning on NFL Network, you'll be treated to the Broncos and Jets overseas. Last night, Thursday night football is about the rookies. Scatterboo and Jackson Dart, James Boyd. They dominated the world champion Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles look terrible. I mean, if you ever saw a bird with broken wings, it is the one we saw last night.
Oh,
they
man.
were horrible.
Jeez. That sounds awful.
I mean, that's what I was watching. I was disgusted watching this. I'm
Can't
thinking,
even get up in the air.
like you guys had, they did not. Did you see their offense? I mean, if it wasn't a tush push, none of it looked good or consistent. So that was god-awful football, and I was disgusted at myself for watching it. But I thought it was hilarious because I was watching, two talented knuckleheads just go down there and beat down the Eagles. And I'm waiting for Saquon Barkley, who had, kind of like the victory lap. He released a documentary and everything like that. I want to see this version, this chapter of it. Well, where's the cameras now?
Left on the cutting room floor.
Exactly. So, big-time performance from Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo. However, I will say, throughout that game, when Jackson Dart went into the tent to get evaluated for concussion and Brian Dable's arguing with the head, of medicine or, neurological things for the Giants, when he's arguing with him and trying to go into the tent, when Cam Scatterboo doing the same thing, I would expect 2 big fines for those guys, honestly, and they'll be well-deserved. Like, that's just stupid. You can't do that.
All right, so that's what's happening in the National Football League. And, of course, 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday afternoon, Lucas Oil Stadium. We'll have the ride to kickoff with JMV beginning at 9 a.m. right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Meanwhile, tomorrow, college football. I misspoke a moment ago. The IU-Oregon game will be on WIBC because we'll be doing other things. We've got Pacers tomorrow night as well. But that'll be on WIBC beginning at 2:30, 3:30 kick time. Purdue plays at Minnesota, North Carolina State at Notre Dame. We'll talk about all these games in depth a little bit later on in the program. Major League Baseball last night. The Chicago Cubs, they're at least fast starters. We know that. Here's what happened at the beginning of Game 4 of their series with the Milwaukee Brewers last night.
Happ with a drive, right field, way back there, gone! More first inning fireworks. Ian Happ takes Freddie Peralta deep for the second time in the series, and the Cubs lead 3-0.
I made a business decision last night, Mark, after I watched Ian Happ hit the 3-run home run. I'm like, okay, Cubs have this under control. I'm watching football. It's kind of how it went last night. And the Cubs, it's all they needed. They go on to win after that 3-run shot by Happ. They win by a score of 6-0 over Milwaukee. Game 5, the deciding game, will come tomorrow in Milwaukee. Also last night,
8 o'clock first pitch
8
for
o'clock.
those planning their Saturday.
That was the late night game. The earlier game was in Los Angeles, and the Dodgers needed 11 innings, but they got it on an error at the end of the game. They score a run and beat the Phillies by a score of 2-1. They advance now to the National League Championship Series. High school football, one other note, the sectional draw will be on Sunday. You can hear it from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. over on WIBC as we get you covered with the
Is that
Colts.
Rake? He's going to be on duty for that, I would imagine. That's usually his wheelhouse.
I would assume. I know he doesn't do all the draws, but I would assume the football draw is one that he would do, and he'll join us here coming up at 8 o'clock.
All right, so we're looking forward to talking to him about that. And by the way, there is one postseason game today at 8:08 tonight. The Tigers take on the Mariners. That is a game-clinching, or a series-clinching game, I should say, as the Mariners host the Tigers in Game 5 there. Anything else you guys want to throw in on what's going to be a busy, busy weekend, Kevin?
Yeah, I got to mention the T.J. McConnell news. Going to be out at least a month, and Rick Carlisle definitely stressed at least a month there. So you're looking at him missing, 8 to 10 regular season games, if not more. It goes without saying what McConnell means, obviously with Tyrese Halliburton out. And, Rick loves to play multiple ball handlers, and that's going to be really, really tested. So Andrew Nemhard, maybe put him in bubble wrap for the next 2 weeks. They signed Cam Payne, a veteran, the lefty from Murray State. I think people will certainly know his name if they follow the NBA. He's been in the league for quite a while. He's bounced around a variety of teams. Quentin Jackson, he better be ready for a bigger role. He's a two-way guy with Ray J. Dennis. So it's the one position that probably can't afford injuries. And right now they've got them. So Pacers will play tomorrow against the Thunder inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, as Jeff pointed out. And right now their point guard depth being tested.
And there's another basketball game of note later on tonight, James Boyd. I know you, for one, will be interested in that. I'll probably check it out for a while, too.
Yeah, we have Aces Mercury Game 4. The Aces have a chance to clinch that one and win their, I believe, third championship in the last 4 years. So, like I said, Asia Wilson is on GOAT trajectory. She has a case to be the best player ever. And I think if they close them out tonight, she can stand there and say, hey, I've done things people in my sport have just not done. So, it is a big matchup. And again, I'm shouting out some of the Indiana ties there. Jewel Lloyd, former Notre Dame star, she could get another championship. That would be her third. You have Dana Evans from Gary, Indiana, went to Westside Leadership Academy. She could get her second WNBA championship. And then you have Jewel Lloyd, who, again, Jackie Young, who's been outstanding. Indiana's all-time leading scorer. She can get her third championship as well. So those are your Indiana ties on the Aces side.
All right, and I don't think Asia Wilson's going anywhere anytime soon. She's not, on her last legs or anything. She's still got a lot of history.
She's done all this before the age of 30, which is insane. Last quick thing, Mark Sanchez actually filed a motion yesterday to travel outside of the state, so I would assume that means he is, feeling better, presumably, out of the hospital. He's out on bond right now, so
he's
we'll
not
see.
on the call of Colts Cardinals coming up
Of course
Sunday.
not. No chance on that. But yeah, we'll see what's the latest as far as that goes. If he's allowed to go home, I guess presumably to California and where that stands. And then his pre-trial conference where he got to basically stand before a judge, it got pushed back a day from November 4th to now November 5th. And so, as you all know, with these legal things, it always gets a little, weird. And whenever you get close to the date, it feels like it always gets pushed back. But that is the latest on that front.
Right.
Easy transition from Mark Sanchez to the legend that unfortunately was Sister Jean.
Yeah.
Announced late last night that she passed away at 106 years old. Obviously, we all remember the Ramblers' run to the Final Four, and Sister Jean right there courtside for it all there. So rest in peace to a legend.
No question about that. 106. That is one heck of a run, and it was fun to watch her have so much fun watching college basketball. Coming up in a moment, we turn our attention to high school football. It's Operation Football. We team up with Channel 13, and Dominic Miranda will do it next. The studios high atop the Circle in downtown Indianapolis. It's the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd. I'm Jeff Ricker. We got Caleb on the ones and twos today. Mark is getting ready for vacation and making sure Caleb is up to speed on what we're going to be doing next week. But right now, guys, we're going to go out to Dominic Miranda, who I believe is coming off another spirited big Channel 13 pep rally on Operation Football. Good morning, Dominic. Where in the world are we this morning, my friend?
Good morning. Hey, the Cubs are one game away from the NLCS, baby. Didn't stay up for it. Had to get my beauty rest. But, hey, it was the first week. We've had 7 spectacular weather weeks. First week where I could see my breath as I breathed out, as I exhaled. It was a crisp morning. My wife said, wear a coat. I said, get that out of my face. We got Heritage Christian was where we were at. They're playing Indy Lutheran tonight, so toughest matchup for them of the season. I was extremely impressed with the show out from them today. It was awesome. Really good stuff. I was worried about the weather, but it was an awesome morning.
Where do I get one of these fat heads?
You will have to visit WTHR in person and give me a Master sweatshirt that was delivered to you.
That is an even trade. I would prefer it to be signed in Sharpie there. Excellent out there. Okay, sectional draw, Dom, coming up on Sunday, week 8 of the high school football season. Yes, very fittingly, chill is in the air. Heritage Christian and Lutheran tonight where you are. Game of the week-wise, though, we've got some big matchups, don't we, in the 6A realm?
Really awesome ranked matchups. A couple of shockers last week setting up for this week and for sectional play. Our game of the night is Warren Central visiting Carmel. Carmel looks like one of the best teams in the state. Obviously, they're looking good under Kevin Wright. He's got those boys humming. Love to see that. Warren Central coming off one of the craziest games I've ever seen last week against Lawrence North. I believe 111 points were scored. Warren Central was leading that game by 21 points at half, I think, or in the second quarter. They had 42 points, and Lawrence North came back and won. The Cardiac Cats, unbelievable. Every single game out of Lawrence North is entertaining. So I'm interested in both those teams because Warren Central plays Carmel, like I said, and easily could have been the game of the night. Lawrence North plays Center Grove, who a huge win for Cathedral last week, beating Center Grove and holding them to just 15 points. Like, wasn't expecting that either. Then we got Fishers and Westfield, both top 10 in Class 6A. This one I'm really interested in. Chittard visiting Tri-West. Is Tri-West for real, for real? We know in Class 3A they're looking like one of the big boys, Sorgy leading the way, but Chittard's a different beast now, so we'll see about that. Then Plainfield and Whiteland, a 5A top 10 ranked clash. So really excited about the slate tonight. There's a crisp. It's going to be chilly. I probably actually will wear a coat tonight. I'm gonna concede tonight probably just because I'm going to be running on fumes, but it's going to be a lot of fun. But our game of the night, Warren Central Carmel, we'll see if Warren Central could have a huge bounce back. Don't forget about Lawrence North in a hurry if they can get it done tonight.
We can't allow you to get sick here, Dominic. Please listen to the missus when you're leaving the house in the morning. I feel like, she might have a little wisdom there for you.
She has the brains.
There you go. Being warm, being healthy is probably a little better than being cute. So, the last thing I do
Did you
want to
say he was cute?
You just said that. I was just mentioning, he's a pretty handsome guy. But Dominic, when you look at the environment that you were in this morning with Heritage Christian, how they welcome you, and I know for first-year coach Caleb Brink, I'm sure he's enjoying the buzz around his program.
He most certainly is. He was the most spirited interview out of the head coaches I've interviewed in the mornings. He said Heritage Christian, and I quote, is the best place to play football in the state of Indiana. I'm not sure many hold that opinion, but he certainly does, and I appreciate the enthusiasm out of Caleb Brink. He's a young guy, vibrant guy. They're 4-3. Like I said, huge matchup against Indy Lutheran. He is fired up to be leading this program. There's a lot of WTHR and Heritage Christian connections, okay? Scott Swan, Anne-Marie Tiernan, and Dave Calabro's kids all went to this school.
Oh, okay.
WTHR pipeline, you might say. But Heritage Christian, they've had a solid season, okay, but Indy Lutheran is different, all right? So, Dave Pash has got that program absolutely humming. And looking the part of, and like they've been in 2A all this time, even though it hasn't been that long at all. So the environment, though, they brought out, it's a K through 12, I'm pretty sure here. So that's the advantage. Like when I was at Park Tudor earlier this year, that's the advantage. They got like small kids, then high school seniors, and they had this. I would equate it to like the Pope Mobile almost. They had this little party bus golf cart on steroids type situation that they let me drive around the field. I don't think the admissions director was very pleased, but I was pumped. So yeah, it was a great environment this morning for sure.
Now, one question I did have for you this morning is last week, up in Flora, that was quite the haul for you to head up north. It didn't look like the T-shirt gun was maybe fully. It looked like a little Michael Badgley field goal, if I must say, versus maybe a Spencer Schrader leg. Did we get you? You had to go with the right arm, and maybe the Phillies could have used you last night there. Was the T-shirt gun back to full throttle this morning?
It was back. Okay, that was way too familiar with 2023 Dominic Miranda. First year, we had all sorts of troubles with the T-shirt gun. In fact, Greenfield Central made a sign saying, hopefully the T-shirt gun works, but even if it doesn't, we still love you, Dom.
That's humbling.
I was humbled in a hurry. Let me tell you.
We need your arm to be C.J. Carr. We don't need it to be whatever that was last week.
Yes, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback C.J. Carr, that is.
Right.
So, but the T-shirt gun was back in action. Tough week last week. Sometimes, a couple pumps sometimes is good. It has enough juice to get it up to where I need to be. Sometimes it's not. It's just the rubric changes. So I try to roll with the punches, but I get humbled quickly when it comes to the T-shirt gun shooting.
Somewhere Mark Dykton is cutting that.
I was going to say, yeah, brother.
Right there.
Yeah, you'll be in a promo here pretty soon.
We can transition to Notre Dame, the Colts, IU, Oregon, wherever you guys want to go after that.
Welcome to the club, Dom. That's all we'll say. Welcome to the club.
Right.
I don't know. I'm thinking about T-shirt guns and people who throw the T-shirts. In a sense, I can't ever forget Kelsey Plum just rocketing one up into the third level. You remember that one, Dominic?
I do. She had a cannon, absolute cannon. That's what I revert to when the T-shirt.
It was a great recovery, I must say. That was a great right arm. I mean, that was impressive. It looked like Mahomes.
I like it. Anything else we need to know about tonight?
Well, Notre Dame's gonna keep on winning. That's for sure. Feels like Chris Ash got the memo when I called for his job a few weeks back.
Thank you for that. Thanks for taking one for the team.
Yeah, of course. Very excited for IU Oregon. Are the Hoosiers for real or are they not? I'm very excited for that. Hey, the Cubbies 1 win away, baby. They're not dead yet. Very excited for that. And we'll see if the Colts can get it done as well. Very winnable game here this weekend. So it's going to be another action-packed football weekend. I'm excited.
And when it starts tonight?
Always. And yes, tonight. Yes, thank you very much, Jeff. It is going to be 7 games on WTHR at 11 o'clock. You got me and me alone tonight. Mr. Eli Gain is off this weekend. So it's going to be me hitting the tube tonight. Ton of ranked matchups, like I told you. We got Warren Central Carmel leading the way, Lawrence North Center, Grove, Fishers, Westfield, Tri-West, Chittard, Plainfield, and Whiteland. Just a really great slate tonight, so be sure to tune in. We'll be live out at Carmel at 5 and 6.
Oh, Eli, getting the Friday off as a sports reporter. What's going on?
Yeah,
We're losing recipes here.
Sounds like Chris
what
Hagan
is up
here.
with that? I know. He's taking the Dave Calabro playbook, I think.
Are we continuing this in the playoffs, Dominic? This gets me energized every Friday morning. Tell me we are.
What's that?
Are we continuing these combos every Friday during the playoffs?
You know what? I just asked my guy at the station, like, hey, when do these end? Because I want to keep doing this.
Thanksgiving Fridays when it
You're
should end.
welcome. Every Friday, 7:30, you got a place to sit here.
Well, I appreciate that. I really love doing this, so thank you for allowing me to come on your show. This is awesome.
All right, buddy. We will talk to you soon. Have fun tonight, and stay warm, okay?
All right, sounds good.
And
Have a great
stay cute.
day, gentlemen.
Yeah, stay cute. Oh, man. It's the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton looking over the shoulder of Caleb Zuver over there, trying to get him ready for Life Without Mark in the show next week. You ready to go for that?
Absolutely. I mean, Caleb is, built for this. Talk to the people, Caleb. Let them know you were born.
Listen,
it's
man.
like the Bane speech, okay?
This is it. Say hello to
y'all
everybody.
new
Introduce
to the
yourself.
dark. I was born in the dark.
Here's what I don't need. I don't need to be in charge of these clips. I'm not going to be as good as Mark, clipping stuff. So please make it easy on me.
Because
okay,
you're a
be on your
regular-
best behavior over the
You're
next
a
week.
proper thinking regular human being. That's why.
No, we'll remind you. We'll let you know whenever you got to, cut a little audio.
I might give you a special assignment next week. Like after the shows, I might just have you go back through like the last week of shows and cut some Mark drops.
Yeah, we could return the favor. Okay, I like that.
Kind of how that goes right there. But yeah, we got a lot of high school football on tap tonight, college football tomorrow, and of course the Colts coming up on Sunday afternoon. We'll talk to Greg Rakestraw about all of that top of the hour, and Matt Taylor stops by at 9 o'clock. But let's pivot over to the Colts coming up on Sunday. 4-1. Want to keep this rolling. You're playing a team that's lost 3 in a row at the gun. They're playing probably with their backup quarterback. If ever there was, I talk about these all the time, Kevin. I know I sound redundant, but if ever there was a take care of business game for the Colts, stay on track, keep it rolling, this is it, right?
And you've probably said that how many times this season?
For the Colts?
Right. Seemingly every week they're like a touchdown favorite against one of these teams. I mean, that's exactly how it was last week. It's how it was against Tennessee in week 3. We probably didn't think that maybe going into the opener with Miami, but certainly that's how it played out. So, yeah, it's another one of those games. I will say Arizona's defense deserves some nice credit for what they've done through the first 5 weeks. They might not be the most household names, but they have been a unit that has been pretty good, especially from a scoring standpoint. And, again, Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, thinks very highly of their defensive coordinator, Nick Rales, who came from Philadelphia. So you do have that sort of connection to this game. I get Colts Cardinals is probably not one that has a lot of connections, but then weirdly it's like, oh, here's Jacoby Brissett. Oh, here's Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, here are coaching staffs that were together in Philly. James, I know we've already gotten a couple questions about it via the text line, via Twitter. Anything you made of the report yesterday where Kenny Moore II had his contract restructured, therefore opening up more current cap space for the Colts here in the year of 2025?
It did make me perk my ears up a little bit, like, okay, what does this mean? I believe they now have about $7 million in cap space, which, is a little wiggle room to perhaps make a move, but even then, I'm not, all that, concerned about it, just because I think if and when we see him come back, that will determine how aggressive they might be at the trade deadline. And meaning, like, if you think that Kenny Moore is going to be fine, after the trade deadline, or he'll be like back to being at that level that he's playing early in the year, later this year, then I think you probably want to stand pat, maybe not give up some draft capital. And then you also just signed Jermaine Pratt. Like, how does he look, in your new unit? If he looks passable, if he looks fine, then I think you can be okay with what you have. But if they don't, if Kenny Moore is still kind of slow to mend, if Jermaine Pratt doesn't really work out, do you go out there and get a linebacker? Do you go out there and get a cornerback? So it at least give you some flexibility. And it's certainly something that I don't want to just dismiss, because they've done things so differently this year than they have in years past.
Yeah, again, I'll go back to what I said yesterday when we kind of had this conversation about the Colts and in-season trades, and they've never done any under Ballard outside of the Nyheim Hines one.
And he demanded that.
Yeah.
Right. I would argue they've never been in this position, though, as more of a front runner, more of 4-1, again, atop the conference, atop the division, et cetera, et cetera. And James, to your point, yeah, we have seen Ballard act differently in this cycle. Now, that was mainly in free agency, but still, do you see more of that? As far as the finances, the Colts did this, I think, a couple years ago with DeForest Buckner, and nothing really came to fruition from it. So I don't think it's like, oh my gosh, they're doing this, and tomorrow they're going to hand Daniel Jones this contract extension, and this is where they're getting some of that extra money. Maybe they just feel like they need to restructure it because they've given out a lot of veteran contracts this year. Jermaine Pratt, Xavier Howard, Mike Hilton. That's not your normal list of guys that they've typically brought onto the team through the last couple months. But nonetheless, when it comes to trade deadline, and, we've obviously seen the NFL have some activity here in the last 24, 48 hours with it. Again, the Colts haven't been in this position really at all in the 8 years of Ballard. What does that mean for potential activity here over the next 3 or 4 weeks? November 3rd, I want to say, whatever that Tuesday is, that is the NFL trade deadline. November 4th, I believe.
They keep rolling along. At what point do they just go all in and try to just actively go get that one missing piece they think they might need on either side of the football, probably defense?
All in with this Colts team, I don't know. Just because your quarterback's on a one-year deal.
All chips in. Mark, do we have that audio?
Shout out to the late Jim Irsay. He would certainly be, I think, a little more daring in these moments like this. But, yeah, that's my only pushback when it comes to people saying Was that after the Raiders game? When was this? When was this, Kevin?
That was like after a season ended, right, Mark?
No, I'm getting confused. The Raiders game was after they had won their first game with Jeff Saturday, and he took the little victory lap there.
Oh, yeah.
And I got him confused there for a second.
Wasn't that from the game in Jacksonville after the Carson Wentz blown playoff
yeah.
chance? I think that's when it was.
Yep. Man,
Great memory, Caleb.
He'll be all chips. And Caleb is quite the fan here. I mean, let's talk about this now. You got me on a tangent. Caleb has property. Caleb and his family has property outside of Lucas Oil Stadium. So if you want to fill us in there, no, it is quite a nice brick. There's many bricks out there. So, Caleb, when was this done? And shout out to your family for being, diehard Colts fans.
Yeah, so my dad, I'm sure, I think he's called into this show before or
shout
various
out Mo.
shows on here. Mo, he's been a season ticket holder for the Colts since '94. And he was a fan when they were in Baltimore. So, been a fan for a long time. And when the new Lucas Oil Stadium opened up, they had the option for season ticket holders to, get a brick outside the stadium. They're all on I don't even remember what street that is on the left side, but
it's Jim Irsay Street.
Yeah, it's Jim Irsay Street now. We're right under the sign because we're in the first section. So it's kind of cool. Got our family's names on there. So
your dad's been a fan from Lenny Moore to Kenny Moore.
That's right. That's right.
That's
some bars
I was about to say, drop the mixtape on this Friday morning.
Show coming up on Sunday.
I'll turn that over to Greg. How about that?
Gives a whole new definition
Casey
to the term
Valier.
bricked up, right? You got bricks outside, right? Right?
No,
this thing on?
Everybody,
Man.
but to the
Mark,
point
back
though.
to the corner.
He literally is sitting down like he's in timeout. Yeah, you got to go chill out.
We
brother.
need to build like a little timeout center over there for Mark to just send him there every once in a while on the show. Don't you think, Kevin? We'll get in the new studios coming up at the end of the year.
I don't know. Then I
Maybe
feel
we
like
build a little timeout center.
We all be obligated to go there. You say something wrong, inaccurate, or dumb, you got to go sit
do
there.
that, don't you think? We'll just put a microphone over there in the corner, and you have to go sit in timeout.
I feel like we should get a box on the YouTube stream of just he has to sit away in the corner, and it's just on him the whole time.
I would have been there yesterday after calling you Jacob
Yeah,
instead
that's
of
right.
Caleb.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
that's how that works. So no, but the point I'm making with all that. What's his level? A guy that's seen it all, been around for all these years, even before they got here. What are his thoughts on this start right now and what the Colts are doing?
It's a great question. I think he's a little still cautiously optimistic, but I don't think there's any doubt he's overjoyed with how things have gone up to this point. I mean, and I don't think anyone really expected any of this. So you kind of have to balance it, right? And I think expectations can change throughout the year.
Yeah.
So if this keeps going here in 3-4 weeks, I think the expectation changes to let's just make the playoffs to let's win a playoff game. Let's get to the AFC Championship, right? Like it can change throughout the year. So that's just the glory of the NFL. You never know how a season's going to play out. So he's excited, and we're excited because, like, dude, a home playoff game for the first time in 10 years or 11 years or whatever it would be awesome. I miss that.
Long way to go, but they're 4-1. They're off to a great start. I think people feel pretty good about them, and everybody seems to be taking them pretty seriously around the league, which is a lot of fun because sometimes teams get a nice start, and you're like, yeah, but is that really who they are? It feels like people with every passing week are like, hey, the Colts might have something going on here.
One thing I'll be curious about, James, for Sunday is the Shane Steichen decision-making once they cross the 50. We know Shane is a pretty aggressive fourth down caller, if you will, and not that I needed to see it yesterday, but I was reminded watching Michael Badgley kick field goals, he's not Spencer Schrader with his leg. I'd argue he might not even be Matt Gay from a leg.
Yeah, he looked like a guy who hadn't kicked in over a year in an NFL setting.
Well, and again, that's kind of been his, he's never really been a long distance sort of
That's
kicker,
fair.
but
That's fair.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a, if like a golf analogy, maybe Fred Funk or Corey Pavin hitting the driver versus Bryson DeChambeau hitting the driver. So when you get to whatever, the 38, the 35, the 33, and you get into some of these close fourth down situations, the Colts really haven't been in a ton of these this season, but inevitably you probably are going to encounter a few of those. Does that mean Shane Steichen goes for a couple more of them? And you don't need to remind any team in the NFL what field goal kicking matters in the Arizona Cardinals. All 5 of their games by one possession, they've lost all 3. Each of the last 3 weeks, they've lost on a last-second field goal. So, again, I don't expect Sunday to come down to field goal kickers. but just something to keep an eye on, as now Michael Badgley is the new kicker.
Yeah, and one of the things that has been a big part of what the Colts have done offensively is through these first 5 games up until he got hurt last week, you could count on Spencer Schrader. Like, he was putting them through the uprights regularly. And all those drives, they were converting into points, and that's one of the reasons they've got such a big point differential. You would have liked to have seen maybe a few more touchdowns, but he's been terrific, and so you're going to miss that.
Do you appreciate the Fred Funk reference, Jeff?
I did, because
Okay.
Corey, for those who don't know, Fred Funk, not a what is he, maybe 5'7", 5'8"? He's not a big guy anyway to begin with. Doesn't have a lot of power down the fairway. Corey Pavin, who was not a long hitter but did win a Masters, I think, in 2001 or 2002. Does that
I believe
sound
a
right?
U.S. Open, right, at Shinnecock, maybe?
Yeah,
Fred Funk winning a U.S. Senior Open, potentially a cricket stick.
Both of them play really, really, really great golf. But then after that, kind of Corey Pavin, that was it. Once he won that Masters, we didn't see a whole lot of him after that. I don't know what happened.
Remember Corey Pavin winning a Masters, but I think a U.S. Open. But yeah,
Was it a
maybe
U.S. Open or a Masters?
If the golf analogy doesn't land, maybe Greg Maddux to an Aroldis Chapman, or something along those lines. That's probably what you've got from a kicking standpoint, a little different. One thing to note too on the Cardinals, they have been horrific in the fourth quarter of this season. They actually have won the first, the second, and the third quarter of their games this season, and yet in the fourth quarter, I want to say they've been more than doubled up by their opponents in the fourth quarter. So, something to keep an eye on for Sunday.
All right, we're looking forward to that, and we'll talk a little bit more about Sunday. Also, a big night in high school sports. Greg Rakestraw, the one and the only, the voice of Indiana sports, joins us next. It's the Fan Morning Show. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A couple pumps sometimes is good.
You're right, he finished third in 92 in the match. Happy Friday morning if you're just getting in the car on your way to work or listening to us already at work. However you're listening to us, we appreciate you being here this morning on the Fan Morning Show as another Football Friday is underway. We just had Operation Football with Dominic Miranda out at Heritage Christian High School this morning, and some big high school games coming up later on tonight. We'll talk about that in a moment. Of course, the big game between IU and Oregon tomorrow out in Eugene, and then the Colts playing for their 5th win in 6 tries this 2025 season coming up on Sunday. And a man who will be touching all of those things joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Good morning, Greg Rakestraw, as I like to say, the voice of Indiana sports. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you?
I'm excited about football, and I know you've got football tonight. Real quickly, before we get into the big stuff, what do you have this evening?
Warren and Carmel. So number 10 versus number 2. Carmel at 6-1. Their lone loss coming to Trinity down in Louisville. Warren Central, who, much like the Colts last week, scored a touchdown on 6 consecutive drives. Unlike the Colts, they lost. They were beaten 63-48 in an amazing game against Lawrence North. Their sophomore quarterback, Jack Quillen, threw for over 400 yards, had 6 touchdown passes, and Warren did that without their star tailback in Keon Thomas, who was out with an injury a week ago. So these are 2 really good teams, and over the years, this is actually the rival that Carmel has played the most. These 2 teams have played every year since 1959. Should be a good one at Carmel tonight.
Rick, you were on the call, right, of Warren LN last week?
I was, correct.
Is that the highest scoring game you've ever had, regular season?
I'm going to guess no.
Regulation?
I got to think about this. I had 57-56 between Warren and Ben Davis. So it's almost identical, but but from a total point standpoint, it just might be 111 was the total point scored. So I guess that one was 113. So damn close.
We got the sectional draw coming up Sunday evening. It's 2025. Do you think by 2030 we see the football sectional?
There's going to be a resistance to that from the IHSAA just because they've done the draw for everything. Again, this really has to come from the Coaches Association driving it. And for those on the top end, they might want to see it seeded of a sectional. Those on the bottom end, their hope is to get the lucky draw. And so the way I would phrase it is this. You have to get almost complete buy-in from the membership to say this should be seeded. That will be the driver, and I'm not sure that's going to happen.
So I do have to ask, because I feel like this is a weekly update at this point, but Miles McLaughlin went off again last week. How are we feeling now that playoff, football is around the corner for high school preps, and there's an opportunity for him to perhaps break that record that we thought, at least I thought, I had a chance to watch Charlie Spiegel in person his senior year when he set the IHSAA rushing record. And so how do you feel about Miles McLaughlin possibly, closing in on it week after week?
I think he's at about 1,400, 1,500 yards away. I think at this point, if I've got the math correct on that, which he might get by next week, at this pace, I think he's going to get there. And again, I thought that record was absolutely unbreakable because they've got I want to say they have went semi-state and regional, I think each of the last 2 years.
Yes.
I think they've kind of got the real estate to have a similar path, if not even get farther, potentially the state championship game this time around. There has become kind of this online debate as to whom is the best running back in the state, whether it's this young man, whether it's Zay Moore, who I saw last week from Lawrence North, and Zay had 6 rushing touchdowns last week and went for just over 300 yards. They're both phenomenal. They frankly both might be Mr. Footballs the next 2 years, because Zay is a junior and obviously Miles is a senior. So at this point, JB, I think Miles is going to get there. I think it's more of a question of when and not if at this point.
It's Greg Rakestraw on the Fan Morning Show on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning. Lots of high school football coming up tonight. But, Greg, you've been around, you've been in Indiana your entire life. And we've talked about what this game for Indiana at Oregon means tomorrow. Are we overstating how important this is, or is Kevin and I both agree on right now? This could be, if they win this, the biggest football game in the history of Indiana. Is that overselling? Is that hyperbole?
No, not at all. But what I would say is this: I think this is the biggest opportunity for Indiana. I think as long as they're competitive, it's not that penalizing for Indiana. Currently rated 7th. That doesn't mean that's going to translate to exactly what their seed might be, from the CFP committee. But they have a chance to play themselves not just into the CFP, but potentially straight to the quarterfinals, kind of given the way this is set up. Last year, not ranked high enough to host a game. Right now, they would kind of be in that group. So because this is a road test, I think they can lose this one and still make the CFP. You're not exactly sure where that opening round game would be played. If you win this one, now we're talking about not just being in the college football playoff, but potentially being in the Big Ten championship game in your own backyard, which, again, seems unfathomable to put IU in that conversation as well. Now we're getting accustomed to talking about them in the top 12 teams in the country. So, yes, this might be the biggest win in Indiana football history if it happens, but unless they get blown out, they're almost kind of playing with house money in this game because the game's in Eugene and not Bloomington.
That voice speaks for itself. Greg Rakestraw with us every Friday, 8 o'clock, right here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Rake, transitioning to your post-game duties coming up Sunday afternoon. Your level of worry with the Cardinals as you sit here on Friday morning, comparing it to maybe last Friday with the Raiders.
First of all, the Colts backed it up as to what they did following the Rams by being so dominant against the Raiders. From a Cardinal standpoint, I think there's this big question hovering over the game, and it's on the Colts end of things. It's on, what is Kyler Murray? What is his status is going to be? It's not exactly looking great. He's going to be playing on Sunday. I think that changes the dynamic of this game completely. Again, I think this is about the mindset of the Indianapolis Colts. Are you settling for good, or do you want to be great? And I think what we saw from the Eagles last night further cements just how good the Indianapolis Colts have been. They are 4-1 because they basically handed a game on the road to a pretty good football team in the Los Angeles Rams. This team could easily be the lone unbeaten team remaining in the National Football League. So again, to me, Sunday is a separation Sunday. Are we having a topic about this is a good football team? Or are we having a conversation about this could be a great football team? I think that's what Sunday afternoon is about at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Rake, when you just going back to, one other thing on the IU Oregon front, we were having this discussion earlier this week about NIL and, how much teams pay, certain players and Oregon's budget versus IU's. But do you think that really should be a conversation in this matchup? Like if IU goes out and they lose, do you say, oh, well, they got more money than us? Like, how do you look at the matchup from that standpoint?
You're in the Big Ten. Nobody's a pauper in the Big Ten. Oregon clearly is a team. Phil Knight's money spends well. Nike's money spends well. But it's not mandatory that you're made to play in the Big Ten. You want to play on that stage. I don't want to hear that Oregon, if they win the game on Saturday and win it big, I don't want to hear because they have more money. This is an old wrestling line, so Mark Dykton will smile when he hears this. This is where the big boys play, all right? So you don't get to claim any sort of money woes when you're playing any other of the 17 Big Ten member institutions.
Greg Rakestraw, any other thoughts of the upcoming weekend that you need to share?
No.
You've done it all. We've covered it all. Have fun tonight.
Is Kevin wearing his Masters sweatshirt today?
No, he's got Notre Dame green on. He's
holding out on us, Rake. He's trying to act like he's this impartial radio guy. No. Everything he says about Shane Steichen now suddenly has like this very, praiseworthy tone.
Lombardi, Belichick, Parcells, Steichen. That's the Mount Rushmore of NFL head coaches, Rick.
Just remember, JB, Kevin got sideways with Chris Ballard before you did earlier this year, so
this
he's
is
been
true.
down that road
This is
before.
true.
It's okay.
He's an OG that
And
way.
he doesn't let Kevin ever forget that either. So
He may be the first guy in town that got sideways with Chris Ballard, but that's probably a conversation for a different day.
I like to think it worked out well for Kevin in the end. So there we go.
I think it worked out well for all of us on the fan. That's for damn sure.
No question about that. Greg, have fun tonight. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you on Sunday.
See you guys.
There he is, the one, the only Greg Rakestraw, who will, of course, be part of the coverage in the post-game show after the Colts play the Arizona Cardinals coming up on Sunday afternoon. But you can watch him do his thing on high school football later on tonight.
James, do you think any more punishment for A.D. Mitchell, or do you think last week was enough?
That's a great question, because I threw the same question to Shane Steichen, and he said he's got to earn it again. And I was like, okay, does that mean if Alec Pierce is available, you won't dress this guy? And honestly, if you're looking at your football team and you're saying we're trying to win games, do you play him? I'm not feeling like he's earned the right to go out there and play over Ashton Doolin per se. So if you have Alec Pierce back in the lineup, you got Pittman, you got Downs, your top three, your usual top three. If your fourth guy is Ashton Doolin, I'm not mad at that.
I think I'm okay with sprinkling him back in a couple of plays in the first half. I don't think he needs to be punished for another week. Now again,
I guess my argument would be like, what's punishment versus I'm putting the best team out there?
Well, I mean, you certainly punished him last week. I mean, that was
absolutely.
If the Colts don't blow out the Raiders,
Yeah.
A.D. Mitchell literally dresses in an NFL game and doesn't play a snap. I don't know if that resonates maybe to all of our audience, but that is beyond rare for a wideout, not even play special teams in an NFL game. I am fine with Ashton Doolin being next man up, if you will, assuming Pierce is good. Behind Pittman, behind Pierce, I'm fine with Ashton Doolin being that next outside wideout, but I'm also okay with, hey, let's maybe try and lull the Cardinals to sleep for a second here, and then we'll throw A.D. Mitchell out there, and maybe he wins one-on-one against their fourth corner, and he potentially makes a play. Again, I don't need to see him out there for a lot of snaps, but I'm good with just 1 week. I didn't think you need to punish him any longer. And, Reggie Wayne has always been, and I felt this way yesterday, James, even walking away from it. I don't get the impression that, I get the impression that Shane Steichen felt the need to punish A.D. Mitchell more than Reggie Wayne did.
Why do you say that?
I just, listening to Reggie yesterday, yes, he acknowledged the mistake, of course, but at some point, I think he compared it to a missed tackle. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I'd go there, but Reggie's always been very pro AD in a public setting. And in a moment where I was curious if he would still be as pro, he was that. I thought largely. I thought he went to bat for A.D. Mitchell a whole lot. And I don't know, maybe I'm overly reading Reggie Wayne's words and Reggie Wayne's body language, but I just got the feeling walking away from that for those curious if this was Reggie Wayne going to Shane Steichen saying, hey, man, I think we need to punish this kid, or Shane Steichen saying to Reggie Wayne, I'm the head coach of this football team, we're going to punish this guy, I think it's more of the latter.
See, I almost don't. I still wonder if there was a direct, we're going to punish them as, dude, you've lost. I guess the punishment to me is right now, Ashton Doolin is more trustworthy than you are. I don't even know if there's a big conversation like, hey, we're going to bench you, but hey, look, Ashton's going to get more play this week. You made a mistake. You're going to have to live with that. I would think that the pain of knowing that you cost them a football game on not one, but maybe two plays, and not playing very much last week, at some point, if you still think this is a guy you want to be on your team moving forward, you're probably still going to have a couple of packages where he is one of the wide receivers in there, I would think. Otherwise, you just move on at some point, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not going there, but I just look at it like, hey, you messed up. And I do think, too, to kind of get back to what you were saying, Jeff, they had to have had a conversation with A.D. Mitchell. You can't not play the guy and not talk to him about it and just assume, oh, well, Ashton Doolin's been more reliable than you. No, if you punish him.
He was on scout team.
Yeah, you definitely have to. And I'm sure they did, go to him and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's why you will not be a part of the offense, most likely. And they probably told him, hey, unless it turns out like it was, you will not get in this game. And this is why. And I think that's a good conversation to have, because it's always better, at least I think in all aspects of life, just be direct. Be trustworthy, but be direct. And so you don't want him to be, confused about what's going on. You want to be upfront and say, hey, you messed up. You've repeatedly messed up in your career. So here's what we're going to do to make sure that this gets through to you. And so I'm very curious to see how, they approach this coming up because, again, even when he was not like benched or whatever, he barely played those first couple weeks anyway when you had all your wide receivers. So if that's the case moving forward, that's fine too. Like, I'm not saying you got to keep him on the bench forever, but I just think the pecking order might be a little different. Like, if you say, hey, my fourth best receiver is Ashton Dulin.
And I'm totally fine with that.
That's cool.
Let me be clear. Like, I think Ashton Dulin should be ahead of him in terms of who would go in the game. Do I think Adonai Mitchell needs to literally have his helmet off and not go into the game for one meaningful snap?
Okay, yeah, I took it the wrong. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I don't think you need to do the same thing you did last week, but, we'll obviously see. And Alec Pierce, as James pointed out, is in the same position as he was last week. He's practiced full the first 2 days. We'll see where he is at today. Outside of that, and, looking like Kenny Moore is going to miss a third straight game, the Colts look really healthy. Really healthy heading into Sunday. Obviously, Kyler Murray's situation would be the one to watch.
I don't hate the idea of having Chris Lamons in at the slot, veteran guy, for those who aren't familiar. Kind of a special teams guy throughout his career, but he's played a fair amount in his career. So
Made
if you
a couple
have to,
nice plays last week.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have to put him in, it's kind of like your spot starter while Mike Hilton is out, while Kenny Moore is out. I don't feel like that's as big of a change, in my opinion, from going from like a veteran outside cornerback to, say, Mekhi Blackman or Jonathan Edwards, and they're still trying to figure that out. I guess this is probably a good week to not have all your cornernbacks when it comes to
Marvin Harrison Jr. with Moody Ward. I think that is obvious.
And he's been quietly as good as advertised. I think that he's
Agreed.
been underrated, and it kind of comes with the territory when you're the number one cornerback and you've kind of got things on your resume that say, hey, you shouldn't throw at me. So, yeah, I'm sure he would love to have more action, passes defense. And, I want to say he had like the single season record for the 49ers, even more than like Deion for that team. But since that year, people don't throw at him anymore. So shout out to Mooney Ward.
8:08 tomorrow night, first pitch, Game 5, deciding game between the Brewers and the Cubs. Mark Dykton, do you need me in my Cubs shirt? I will do what you need from me.
I can see look on his face.
Oh, boy.
Do you need me to iron it? Do you need me to go wash? I probably air dry it. I probably just put it in the backyard over the swing set. Do you need me in my Cubs gear tomorrow?
Well, you said you found it, in the back of your closet, mysteriously, a shirt that you've just
he forgot that he had it, but he just found it.
If that's what you need, and it's such a momentous night for your Cubs, one of the biggest Cubs game in X amount of years, I will do that for you. I will be a friend.
So you'll do that, but I get grief for liking PCA.
That's true.
I will be a friend.
That's true. Yeah, you two Reds fans need to hash it out.
Got a
I would be much
Sitting next
happier
to two
if
frauds right now.
you wear whatever you want,
got a
Kevin.
friend
I might be
in
much
me.
happier if Cade Horton is on the bump tomorrow. I don't know for how long, but he had that rib fracture injury that kept him out of the wild card and most of the series, and the target date was when he could pitch, was Game 5 of the NLDS, and lo and behold, look where we're at on Saturday night.
That is quite
Their ace, offensive rookie of the year, would be outstanding.
Here, no pressure.
Yeah.
I always worry about pitchers that are coming straight off of an injury into a high leverage baseball
I
game.
do too, but
Adrenaline.
you had a pitcher that the Brewers have hardly seen. They definitely haven't seen this whole series. You've kind of taken their spirit yesterday with Freddie Peralta on the mound and all that. So you throw Cade Horton out there, even if it's for an inning or two. I like our chances.
Now, I must say, you are a baseball superstition guy? Mark?
Not so much, no. Not to the degree that Joel Erickson is.
The fact that you even mentioned that you thought about texting Joel A. Erickson yesterday as that game was unfolding.
And this was not a troll job. I was just going to say,
that's one of the sicker things I've ever heard you say, which is saying something. You said
it was not going to be a troll. I figured he would take
day.
it. He would take it as a troll job. It was just going to be oh boy, our teams are up against. One of us is going to be very upset on Saturday night, but I figured he would take it as a troll job, so I did not text him. But James said he was on the text line and already calling the series over.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, we were texting. We have a group chat with a couple of Colts reporters, and he's like, "Yeah, it's over." But he's also, I think Joel, and shout out to him, he's such a professional guy when it comes to the Colts beat and his reporting and stuff like that.
Oh, he's professional.
But he rides
Mark's
the
an
wave.
amateur.
No, I'm saying, but he rides the wave when it comes to the fandom. So if I see him today, he might tell me he's feeling a little better than he was last night. That's usually how he is. And it's kind of weird to see that side of him. And it's funny because, like I said, he's so even keel with his reporting and everything else, but he's just like everybody else when he's watching his team, which I respect.
Mark, please don't text him.
I'm not texting him. I'm not texting.
He's still playing Farm Heroes over
Maybe
there.
when I need to know about this Farm Heroes game. Maybe
Same as Candy Crush.
We'll see what happens on Saturday, but I'm not opposed to calling in on my vacation next week. I'll say that. I'll put it out there.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Somebody's got the feathers.
I'm
in
just saying. If you need to.
It's Mark's quarterly vacation.
Don't take a page out of the James Boyd book. You know how that ended.
It's his quarterly vacation sandwiched around a bunch of 3-day weekends. That's how he rolls.
Quarterly, seemingly monthly.
Well, yeah, sandwiched around a bunch of 3-day weekends.
Shout out to my boy Mark Dykton. That man is going to use his PTO. I should probably call him
company free money.
Mark PTO Dykton. Okay, he ain't giving nothing back.
Let's check it down. As we've been discussing, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Colts Cardinals, and a chance to go 5-1 out of the gate for Indianapolis. Our coverage starts with the ride to kickoff at JMV, live from the Bullseye Event Center at 9 a.m. Take you right up to kickoff. Then Greg Rakestraw has the post game. Key injuries that we're looking at right now for the 8 o'clockers heading into work today, James Boyd.
Well, good news is that Alec Pierce practiced again yesterday. We'll see if he'll practice today, which he did not do last week when he had a setback in the concussion protocol. So we'll see if he gets through the full protocol this weekend. And then Kenny Moore II remains out with an Achilles injury. And then the other DNP this week was Tyler Goodson, still dealing with a groin injury. But other than that, you're pretty healthy. I guess, we look at some of the lineup changes potentially. We did have Joe Bocci go to IR with an injury, so he'll be out for at least the next 4 games. So what does that mean for Jermaine Pratt, the newly signed linebacker that is very familiar with Lou Anarumo, with both of them having been in Cincinnati together?
All right, and the big question for the Arizona Cardinals, Kevin Bowen, is whether or not their starting quarterback will be available Sunday afternoon at 1.
Yeah, so Kyler Murray's yet to practice this week with a foot injury. That would mean Jacoby Brissett. I believe Keaton Slovis, I think, is their other quarterback, maybe on the practice squad for the Cardinals.
That guy. That is, I want to say,
former USC.
Michael Pittman Jr.'s former quarterback. I remember talking to Pitt about him when he worked out for the Colts briefly.
Yeah, had a great first year at USC, and then I want to say ended at BYU maybe.
Yeah.
But yes, so it'll be, it's looking like it could be Jacoby Brissett, who has not really played for the Cardinals. 4 snaps last week, 1 throw when Murray did go to the locker room. But it's been over a year since he has started a game in the NFL. If you look at last year, he had 5 starts, every single one of them less than 170 passing yards. He only won 1 of those 5 starts. It did happen to be against Lou Anarumo, for what it's worth.
All right, speaking of what's happening here in town, the Pacers tomorrow night play their second preseason game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but tough news coming out of Pacers camp yesterday, Kevin Bowen. Not going to have T.J. McConnell available for a little while.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle stressed at least a month for the absence on T.J. McConnell with that left hamstring injury. So not good, obviously, on many fronts. Depth at point guard, I think, is vital this season. We know that Rick Carlisle, I would say more than even some other NBA coaches, loves to have multiple ball handlers out on the floor. So that could potentially hinder some of this. So they did sign veteran Cam Payne yesterday. Think lefty. I feel like he threw in a couple threes against the Pacers this year with the Knicks in a playoff game. I could be wrong on that, but he's played for a lot of teams in the league. And really the Daylon Wright thing, James, I felt bad for him. Like, he gets smacked in the head the other night. I saw he tweeted out he needed 14 total stitches. Oof. Now he's gone with this campaign news. So I'd assume your point guard depth chart right now is Nembhard, then Payne, and then, Payne in multiple ways, injury and his last name, Payne. Cam Jones going to be out for a couple more weeks, the rookie. And so I guess Quentin Jackson and Ray J. Dennis, next men up.
Yeah, I do like Jackson. I think that he's shown a lot the last couple of years.
He's got
with the
burst to
Pacers.
him.
Yeah. Also in basketball later on tonight, WNBA finals continue. Las Vegas Aces lead 3-0 over the Phoenix Mercury. Game 4 in Phoenix tonight, 8 p.m. You can watch that one on ESPN. High school football around here. Some big games later on tonight. Lawrence North plays at Center Grove. Warren Central at Carmel. Fishers goes up against Westville. Chittard at Tri-West. Pretty interesting 4A matchup, too. Pendleton Heights at 6-1, taking on Yorktown at 6-1 in that 4A class. So it'll be interesting to watch that one. Of course, college football tomorrow. IU at Oregon. That one starts at 3:30. You can listen to it over on WIBC with coverage beginning at 2:30. But number 3, Oregon, number 7, Indiana. And we're going to talk about this at length coming up in just a minute here. But this is a real great opportunity for Indiana to truly say, we're here to play with the big boys. We are. It's not just a year and a half little fun run here. We're here.
Yeah, and again, it's probably a 4 or 5 layer thing of if you win this, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest win in program history. You are in a position to get a bye or a home game for the playoff. You would have to fall on your face to miss the playoffs. You'd be in position to play inside of Lucas Oil Stadium coming up for the Big Ten title. And assuming, he didn't get hurt in the game, I would assume Fernando Mendoza would probably be viewed as a Heisman favorite. So just absolutely massive college game day at the bright hour of 6 a.m. local time out there in Eugene. And we'll see how much rain will impact this game. 3:30 kickoff, 12:30 local.
All right. Anything else, James, you want to throw in before we move along here?
I have a Pacers question that we can get into after the break.
All right. We'll do that. But we also are going to take a look at IU and Oregon in depth. That's all coming your way.
Sabrina the guest picker I saw for college game day.
That's a good one.
She's an Oregon girl.
The Oregon Duck.
All right. That's all coming up next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning, Friday. Good morning, football. We got a lot going on this weekend. Of course, everybody, I think, around here who's an Indiana fan, certainly, maybe not the Purdue folks, Todd, but everybody else getting fired up for the Indiana-Oregon game, number 7 against number 3 in Eugene tomorrow. Maybe it rains, maybe it doesn't. We've been talking about it all week long, and I find it interesting, these two coaches. I love the way that they approach things. Kevin, you got Curt Cignetti, who's very direct, right at you, confident, says what he means, and then you have Dan Lanning, who I think is just a bright young man who always sounds to me whenever I watch his press conferences and his post-game comments, he's just very confident in what he says. He keeps it fairly short and to the point, and I just like watching how coaches approach different things and how they get their players fired up, how they get the fan base fired up, and certainly both of them are doing a good job right now. So looking forward to that. Your thoughts on just the different styles?
Yeah, I mean, college
teams.
football programs, fan bases, they usually hate their coach. Let's be honest.
Unless he's winning by, monster numbers. Right?
Like Ohio State wanted Ryan Day fired.
Yeah.
And then he won a national title. So it's very difficult to appease your fan base, and these two coaches certainly check that box. We did the game earlier this week. How many college football programs would not take Curt Cignetti or Dan Lanning, and what do we come up with? Kirby Smart, I guess Ryan Day, until he loses to Michigan again this year, and then probably Marcus Freeman, and that's it. I mean, that's rare air to be in that realm. I think they're two very similar, yet different coaches, if that makes sense. I think
No Bill Belichick on that list?
Not yet.
Bill just missed it. Close, but just missed it there.
Just checking.
Yeah, he's on the other side.
I'm looking forward to this. I think I think you could have an interesting pregame, and you could have an interesting postgame handshake if this one gets a bit tense late in Autzen.
Well, everybody in the world is asking for some of the time for Curt Cignetti. CBS HQ and Danny Cannell had a conversation with Coach Cignetti earlier this week, and one of the things Danny Cannell asked him was, what do you think about kind of being an it team in football, and everybody now expecting things from you and whatever the national headlines happen to say? Here was Cignetti's response.
Now, the most important thing to me is that the team continue to develop. We got a big contest this week, obviously, against Oregon, a great football team. I honestly don't spend a lot of time on social media. When I get home at night, I will turn it on just to see what's going on in the world. And I mean, you're always going to have your supporters and you're always going to have people that are not for you in this business. That's part of the job. But so far, so good. I think we've made progress and like where we're at heading into this game.
Not really worried about outside noise, just trying to take care of my guys and move on.
Yeah, I was thinking, man, Curt Cignetti audio, that's one I'm probably not going to remember too much. He's very mild going into this game. He
admitted he's on social media. I think he's the first coach to ever admit that he's on social media.
I think he wants to see what's going on in the world,
that's
Kevin.
an honest thing. Yeah, I've had many coaches say that, and I'm like, you're all liars. I would imagine all of them have a burner account because not even for the stuff that we write, but the knuckleheads on your team. So, but yeah, I mean, for Curt Cignetti audio or quotes, yeah, that's pretty mild.
So it's always fun for me to watch those guys and just the way everybody handles their business, especially when things are going well. And to your point, Kevin, a little almost understated for Curt Cignetti going into this game right now. But then on the other side, you got Dan Lanning, very short, very factual, very easy to listen to. Always seems to be getting along with the reporters in the room because they're winning and everybody's in a good mood. But he was asked, what worries him about this Indiana offense, which is, a potential Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback and a couple of guys with some big playability.
Just the improvement. I think everybody thinks RPO and they think about the passes. They don't realize that they're a really explosive run team. Those guys have good quickness. They hit the hole, get vertical quickly, and that's certainly what sets everything else up in the run game. Is the run first, right? Sets up the RPOs and makes people have a loaded box. So they've done a really good job around the ball this year. Well over 200 yards rushing a game, which is impressive.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I would be worried about, were I an Indiana fan, it was tough sledding for the offense last week against Iowa. There's no way around that, and Oregon's defense might be a step up from that, Kevin. So that's the one thing I would be a little bit worried about heading into that game tomorrow.
Yeah, but to that point from Dan Lanning, again, if it is inclement weather, I do think Indiana has ran it pretty well, and I get that maybe Mendoza hasn't showed off a ton of those legs, but still, with the injury at running back, they still have ran it pretty well. They will, it sounds like, get D'Angelo Pons back, their star corner who missed the Iowa game. So that obviously very beneficial to the Indiana defense.
Yep, and we just want to make sure Puddles doesn't do too many push-ups in the end zone tomorrow, James. That's what we don't want to see. More push-ups means more points. You don't want to see that.
Yeah, a big matchup, and certainly want to try to keep them out of the end zone as much as you can.
Yeah,
very obvious statement from me, James Boyd. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know. I know.
Well, I don't know what else to say. You gotta. I will say, in all seriousness, you do want to try to get after Dante Moore. I just think that he's a very dynamic player. Someone who's really coming to his own since joining that program. And if you're looking at like the head-to-head, the quarterback play, a lot of that I think will determine how this game goes. And college football is always weird too to me because I feel like games can be so evenly matched, and then you'll have like just one or two really like stupid plays where someone blows a coverage or throws a horrendous pick, and I'm reminded that like, oh, this is why you're a college football player, and most of you guys probably not be good pro players. I'm not to like throw digs at them, but it's reality. So I'm curious to see which quarterback is able to make the big play and which team is able to avoid like the big gaffe, because I swear every big game there's always like one or two blunders where you're like, man, that really cost me in the end.
Yeah, and I was very impressed with the Oregon quarterback against Penn State. On the road, white out. I know he came back late, and they got a little bit of help too, but he's a dynamic guy, both running and throwing the football. So this would be a terrific matchup to watch tomorrow. I can't wait to see it, and I hope things go well for Indiana because it'll certainly set up the rest of a Big Ten season, wouldn't it? Man, chance to possibly be at the top of the standings when it's all said and done, but a lot of work still to go. Again, that one will start at 3:30 p.m. If you want to listen to it, it'll be on WIBC on Saturday, and the pregame coverage begins at 2:30. And you are wearing the Notre Dame polo this morning with the Kelly green and the gold trim there. How worried on a scale of 1 to 10 are you about North Carolina State?
Oh, you're always worried, yeah.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried?
0.
7.
7?
0.
Okay. Yeah. At some point, the ACC's got to show up. Notre Dame's beating the you-know-what at pretty much all these ACC
and that's what's going to happen
years.
again.
James, you said you had a Pacer question?
I do.
What do you got?
Can I interest you in Russell Westbrook? He's available.
Can we think about that?
Would you go out and try to get Russell Westbrook?
Think about that. We're going to talk about
You're
that
turning your
question.
face up. Cameron Payne or Russell Westbrook?
We're going to answer that
just
question
asking.
next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning, and welcome into Friday here on the Fan Morning Show. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton standing off into the penalty box while Caleb runs the show today. We appreciate that. We're going to talk about some of our key NFL matchups in just a second here. But you asked a very interesting and I think terrific question right before the break.
I don't know
James.
about terrific. The fan base is speaking to me like, James,
but it's a great
you are...
question because I think you're getting the response that I expected, to be honest with you.
I know I don't drink, and Hammer last week had some moonshine for us after a good week of betting. People probably thinking, did you take some of that before asking this question? But here, let me just lay it out. How many of these people have really watched Cameron Payne play basketball? And so if you're looking at camp deals and minimums and you're not paying the guy a lot of money, would you want him or Russell Westbrook? That is probably my more specific question. Because Russell Westbrook in a vacuum, I can see why he's not, having many suitors right now and he's looking for a job. But Cameron Payne, Russell Westbrook, which one would you rather have? Yeah, especially if you need a guy for a month.
Right. I guess if you were trying to go out and get the best player, Russell Westbrook probably is better than Cameron Payne. Do you care at all about, I don't know, trying to maintain your culture, trying to get – Russell Westbrook seems like a dude that can really just flip the bench over. And do you want that?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. And it can get flipped in a couple of different ways, as far as he might come in and do some great things, but I've seen the Russell Westbrook experience, and it can be bad quickly.
James, I said it about Odyssey Sims last month. I said it about Lance Stevenson for several years. It can be good Lance and bad Lance. It can be good Odyssey and bad Odyssey. It can be good Russell Westbrook, bad Russell Westbrook.
That's where Russ is probably right now in his career, honestly. So I just threw it out there because it was a question I got yesterday. I would probably lean more towards probably not.
Yeah.
As far as bringing him in, the big name Hall of Fame player, and then as a competitor, if he does come out and play well, then it's going to be a conversation of, well, I should still be playing if TJ McConnell comes back. But it's just one of those questions where, hey, here's a name, here's a player that could fit one of your needs, considering where you're at in with your team and you're just the bodies you need. Would you entertain that? But I would probably err on the side of no. But to further that point, it is kind of crazy that a guy with that resume is no longer in the NBA currently. So
I'm not as anti it as I was a month or two ago, because we've had this Westbrook thing, floated around for the last couple months. Oladipo, remember with that workout or whatever that was.
Yeah, and that's why I threw it out there, because it's okay, is it tenuous enough for you to be like,
It's getting very dire. I mean, you look at that depth chart.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if Nembhard went down early last season. Can you imagine if he goes down again? Remember, Rick Carlisle's already said, hey, we've got to protect Andrew Nembhard, protect him from foul trouble, protect him from, if you look at the other night, who was guarding Anthony Edwards? Benedict Mathurin, not Andrew Nembhard. So that, I think, is where I do hear it, James. I don't love it, but also I can't just ignore it because your depth chart right now is very, very thin in the point guard position.
The text line, I'll let Jake R. speak for the text line as a representative of Pacers culture and fandom. The majority has spoken. We don't want Westbrook, he calls him.
I'm about to say, have y'all seen Campaign? I'm like, what are we talking about? But yeah, hey, if you say you don't want Russell Westbrook, that's fine. But I'm like, look, Campaign, have you seen his jumper? He's not made as many shots as Russell Westbrook in his career. So yeah, I can see both sides of it. And I can also obviously see why certain Pacers fans are like, hey, we built our culture. We don't want a guy coming in where, to the point of Westbrook, everywhere he's gone, it hasn't really ended in a good manner.
All right, we'll talk more about that and the Pacers as the preseason rolls along. In the meantime, we've got pressing news and pressing information to give you right now on the upcoming NFL weekend. Let's tell you what's happening. Mark Dykton, kick us off.
We do it every week. Most exciting, hardest and easiest games of the week. Where are we at heading into week 6? We'll start with most excited. I'm going to be selfish here. Bears-Commanders on Monday Night Football.
Right?
I want to see that game. I'm sick of seeing the Hail Mary highlights. I've seen them for like a year now. Turn the page. Get a win. Bears coming out of a bye. I'd like to see what Ben Johnson has. There's a lot of flavor on that Monday night game between the Bears and the Commanders.
I'm going to go Sunday night, Lions-Chiefs. Lions are rolling. They've won 4 straight. They have one of the best offenses in the league. Can they put the Chiefs in a further hole that I honestly think at 2-4, can you climb out of that? Can you get back into the playoff picture and win your division, do all these things? if you lose to that team. So I'm very curious to see how that matchup goes because it seems like the Chiefs are just not the Chiefs of old.
I thought about that one, but eventually pivoted to the San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. San Francisco just keeps winning football games. They're 4-1. Tampa Bay is 4-1 and might be the odds-on favorite to win the NFC South. I think they're probably the big favorite to win the NFC South. I'm really interested to see what San Francisco can continue to do with multiple injuries to some of their best players on offense, and Mac Jones will get a start again for the Niners, but I think that's going to be a really entertaining football game.
Thought about that one as well. I'll go Lions Chiefs. That's where I'll go from an entertainment value standpoint.
If we're doubling up,
I think that speaks for itself.
I'll pick one more. This is purely entertainment factor. Bengals, Packers. I want to see Joe Flacco run for his life when Micah Parsons is coming after him. I think that experiment is going to go terribly bad, so I'm just going to watch and laugh, honestly.
That might pop up for me here in a few minutes.
It might be a lot of folks, I think, with that one popping up. All right, Mark Dykton, where do we head next?
All right, let's go easiest. I'm going to say Patriots and Saints. The Patriots are currently 3.5-point favorites on the road against New Orleans. New Orleans is playing a little better, but they still stink, and I feel like the Drake May experience with the Patriots, it's starting to take off. It's starting to mesh together. I like the Patriots. I think they're going to roll. James?
That's a good one. Man, I might say my easiest game, it might be Broncos-Jets, although, I don't know, 6.5 doesn't feel all that great. But
remember, that's across the pond, too.
Yeah, London games scare me.
I know, but it's like the Jets are bad in America. I feel like they're going to be bad overseas. So I'll probably roll with that one.
Could be a big day for that Broncos rush.
Jets are bad in America. Thank you, James Boyd, for that.
Rushing the quarterback. I don't know if anybody's better than the Broncos right now. Justin Fields might have a long day there. What are you thinking, Kevin?
My easiest game. Give me Joe Flacco and 14.5
yes.
points, baby.
Yeah.
Yes,
Come
Kevin.
Come on.
That's smart. That's a smart pick.
14.5. Flacco, just go balls to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins all game long. He doesn't need to know the playbook. Just go. You run, and I'll throw it, and we'll see if it gets there.
You know what I'm going to go with, though? The Indianapolis Colts going to roll over the Arizona Cardinals at Lucas Oil on Sunday. They're playing against Jacoby Brissett. I'll take the Colts all day long in that game.
What a homer pick that was. No,
Wait, why is James looking at me like I'm crazy all of a sudden?
No, I'm looking at you crazy because the way you yelled, I was like, was this like practice? Did you practice this last night?
No, that's how enthusiastic I am for this pick.
All right, the hardest game of week 6. I'm saying it's Seahawks-Jaguars because are the Jags for real? Are the Seahawks for real? I really don't know.
Yeah, that line is thin.
But it's going to be a fascinating game. I'm looking forward to that one. I don't think heading into week 6, if you'd have showed me the schedule, I'd be like, yeah, Seahawks-Jags, count me in. But I'm all in on that one. I'm excited. Jaguars are currently 1.5-point favorites at home. Curious to see, can they go 5-1? Do they let up a little bit and the Colts can kind of create some space in the AFC South? It's an interesting game.
Yeah, I'll go Titans-Raiders. The Raiders are 3.5-point favorites over the Titans. They're both 1-4. I just always feel like if I were a betting man, which you all know I'm not, but if I were, I don't want to bet on a game with these sort of implications. You got two awful teams, and weird things happen when bad teams play. So I feel like this is like kind of the toilet bowl of the season so far.
You could offer me free tickets to that game, and I would be like, I'm good.
Well, it depends on where it's at. You know, if it's in,
it's in Vegas.
Yeah, it's a little Broadway. Broadway's like little Vegas, so I don't know. You know,
it's in Vegas, but even still, if you have to go attend the game, I'd rather be at the craps table than watching crap on the field.
Oh, love it. While I will tell you I have no idea what's going to happen between the Cowboys and Panthers, I still think the toughest game to pick is the one I talked about for being my most entertaining, San Francisco at Tampa Bay. I don't know what quite to think about both of those teams because San Francisco just keeps finding ways, and Tampa Bay looks like they might be for real with Baker Mayfield this year. That's why I think it's going to be both the most entertaining game, but also the toughest to call. It's in Tampa for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I got two difficult ones, and they're both West Coast teams traveling way across the country favored. One, the Seahawks, 1.5-point favorite at Jacksonville. Is this a hangover game for Jacksonville after beating Kansas City on the short week? I mean, Seattle to Jacksonville's that's no joke from a road trip standpoint. The other one, Chargers, 3.5-point favorite at Miami. The Chargers are so banged up. I hate betting the Dolphins, but you get 3.5 points at home, and the Chargers are on a plane for 6 hours? I don't know. Both of those very difficult for me here in week 6.
I kind of like that Justin Herbert, all those receivers against that secondary for the Dolphins, though. Be fun to watch. All right. Anything else, Mark, before we wrap up and get ready to go to Matt Taylor?
No, we'll go to Colts Cardinals picks a little bit later in the show, but we got Matt Taylor up next.
All right. He said it all. We'll do
I gotta
it.
get on that Max Bowen train. I'm picking bad.
4 in a row for Max Bowen.
Yeah, we're ready for the weekend here as the Colts get ready to take on the Arizona Cardinals Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Of course, our coverage starts with the Ride to Kickoff, JMV, live from the Bullseye Event Center at 9 a.m., and then full-blown 3-hour pregame show with the Colts Radio Network, and chief among those voices, the play-by-play man for the Indianapolis Colts, our good friend Matt Taylor. Happy Friday, Matt Taylor. Welcome into the Fan Morning Show.
Happy Friday, boys. Good to be with you. What's happening today?
Just keeping an eye on everybody's injury report and finding out which quarterback the Colts are going to play on Sunday afternoon. Our old quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, or the very mobile and dynamic at times, Kyler Murray. What are we thinking right now?
I'm with you. We're just, waiting and watching and, reacting. What's funny about this matchup, I don't know if you guys have talked about this. I apologize if you have. But the last time the Colts played the Cardinals in Indianapolis was 2017. Do you know what was significant about that game?
I do not. I was in college in 2017.
Was that Jacoby Brissett's first start as a Colt?
That was Jacoby Brissett's first start in the NFL.
Isn't that something?
After Scott Tolzien and that whole game right out there in L.A. week
Look
1,
at the
right?
big brain on Kevin Bowen, Matt Taylor.
Well, I didn't doubt him.
Matt texted me 5 minutes ago, full transparency. Hey, I'm going to set you up for this. If I throw the alley-oop, will you dunk it?
If we were only that cool, you know what
Right.
I mean? If we were only that on top of it. But no, that's exactly right. So yeah, kind of a ironic or full circle moment. They only play the Cardinals once every 8 years in Indianapolis. So weirdly, this is only the second meeting ever the Cardinals will play the Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium, and you could have a big Jacoby Brissett wrinkle in both games. But we'll see how it goes. Jonathan Gannon at the end of that game last week against the Titans did admit that Kyler was compromised and hampered a bit in terms of what they could call, and maybe perhaps they didn't call any design rollouts. Certainly he was probably hampered inside the pocket, because you guys know at the first sign of leakage up front, he is out. I mean, he is going to get out of that pocket, and then it is unique backyard playground football. And I think that's what is, kind of a unique challenge about this game, is that the Colts probably aren't going to see a quarterback like this the rest of the season. He's probably the best scrambling, improvising, just mobile quarterback in the game right now. So if he is healthy and able to go, that's certainly, something you have to keep an eye out for, is, how much of that will you see and how effective will he be, playing to his strength as a very accurate, on the move mobile quarterback out of the pocket.
Before we get into the award-winning Taylor's Tidbits, Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, with us here on the Payless Slickers Hotline. I really hope you share the one that you've done. I've heard it earlier this week, the sacks, the punts, the giveaway stat. That blows me away, frankly, where the Colts are at 5 weeks into the season. But you have a lot of clout over there. We saw Bernard Ryman get a target last week. It fell incomplete. Can we get Quentin Nelson in the end zone at some point?
Well, the problem is he plays guard.
Well, yeah, but can't they fullback him up and Dalton Tucker take a snap? Yeah. I don't know. I'm not asking to throw it to him.
Oh, I'm asking to throw it to him. Line him up wide.
I just want to touch.
Don't get a rebound, Quentin Nelson.
That man Pauline is the greatest. That's the greatest Halloween fear you could imagine. And I need Quentin Nelson at fullback dive, touchdown, and I need it before his career is over.
Well, that's probably the best way to do it, is line them up in the backfield. Big old H-back, offset eye. Holy crap, it's Quentin Nelson lined up behind Daniel Jones. You give it to the big boy, like on a 3rd and goal at the 1, and just see what happens. But, that happened a couple of years ago, did it not, where it got wiped off due to a penalty, if I'm not mistaken, where he got into the end zone, but then, he had the keg stand celebration all, ready to go. They actually did it.
Did he score?
I'm pretty sure a guy wiped off due to a penalty.
I remember the cake stand celebration, and all that. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Casey's telling me that he actually didn't score. Like, they reviewed it, and then it got overturned. With getting close to the goal line in that situation. But yeah, that would be fascinating to see what he has, planned up his sleeve in terms of a celebration, because listen, I can tell you firsthand that every offensive lineman and every defensive player has their celebration locked and loaded.
Remember Costanzo's dance?
Oh, it was the Street Fighter deal, right?
Yeah. Just
Mortal Kombat.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, Matt
Yep.
Taylor, voice of the Colts again, 1 o'clock on Sunday. Our coverage will begin 9 o'clock. J&V will have you a bullseye. Let's hit up the great Taylor's tidbits.
All right, let's talk about the great start to the season. All right, the offense has been piling up a boatload of points. They've got an NFL best plus 74-point differential so far through the season. Through 5 games, they are the only team this season to have 3 wins of at least 20 points. The Colts are also averaging 32 points per game. The only team since the 1970 merger to average north of 30 points per game in a season with a brand new quarterback. You got the 2020 Buccaneers with Tom Brady and the 2012 Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning. So all of that has allowed the Colts to start 4-1. They are 4-1 or better for the 15th time in club history. Guess how many times they have made the playoffs in those previous 14 instances when they start 4-1 or better?
Every single time.
All 14 times. So it's a good omen here, and we'll see if it can continue. A lot of football left, right? 12 games left in the regular season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. All right, Kevin, you ask and I deliver. You talk about the level of non-self-inflicting wounds throughout the course of the season. In 4 out of 5 games, they have played very, very clean. They rarely make mistakes that lead to negative outcomes so far. So you look at it through 5 games. The Colts have 14 combined punts, giveaways, and sacks. All right, so again, when you add up total punts, when you add up total giveaways, and you add up total sacks, it adds up to just 14. That is the fewest in the NFL this season. It is also the fewest amount by any team through 5 games in the Super Bowl era.
How do you find this?
Well, I can't take credit for this one. The NFL put that out.
Okay.
But, I mean, that just speaks to the level of, just precise execution. It sounds cliche, but more games in the NFL are lost than won, and the Colts are beating the crap out of bad teams by not making mental mistakes, not letting bad teams stay in the football game. So I think that's a very overrated strength to any good football team, and the Colts have that right now working in spades. The last one is about the Cardinals defense, all right? The Cardinals defense, they are very good, and they continue to get better year over year under former Colts defensive backs coach Jonathan Gannon. Since 2023, they have steadily improved, all right? The first year he was there, they gave up 26 points per game. Last year, it was 22 points per game. This year, it's down to a very respectable 19 points per game so far through 5 games, which ranks 4th in the NFL. They also play sticky on the outside. They play the pass pretty well. They have 16 different players who have combined for 33 passes defense so far this year. Only the Jaguars have more passes defense on the season, and the Cardinals also have 10 different players that have recorded a sack. So if you're a defensive player on that Cardinals team, you're probably looking around the locker room and you're scanning the atmosphere, you're scanning the room, looking for offensive players, and you're probably thinking to yourself, are you kidding me right now? You guys are the Keystone Cops. What do you have to do to lose another game for us? You had the drop fumble at the goal line. You had the ball that's pinballing all around. Nobody can, it's like, a football, greased up and, nobody can recover it. Lands in the end zone. There's Tyler Lockett for a cheap touchdown. They have had some epic collapses. They are minus 25 in the 4th quarter this season, and they are the first team in the history of the NFL since the merger, dating back to 1970, to lose 3 straight games on a walk-off field goal with no time left on the clock after that final play. So they're hungry. They're a deceptive 2-3. All of their games have been decided by 1 score. Their last 3 losses in heartbreaking fashion have been by a combined 5 points. So you couple all of that with their great defense, this is a very deceptive team, and I fully expect this game to go down to the wire. I think they're much better than the Raiders. I think this is going to be a fourth quarter, last 4-minute type of game on Sunday.
Matt, I ask you this in all seriousness. Do you have a favorite Jacoby Brissett Colt moment? I'll throw mine at you while you rack your brain a little bit here. But I remember they played the Broncos. I forget the year, but they were backed up way against their own goal line. It was late in the game. It was kind of one of those, hey, you need to get the first down to, try and win the football game. They were down, and he escapes, in typical Jacoby fashion, a definite sack and finds T.Y. Hilton. And if I remember correctly, Hilton had a hell of a toe drag on the sidelines. That is probably mine. Overall, I probably remember his toughness more than anything. But anything stand out to you about a man that, he started for the Colts for, 20, 25 some games in his career?
Yeah, I mean, he was, I think, record-wise 11-19 in games that he started with the Colts. Just going back and dusting off the resume because, again, he has a pretty good chance of starting on Sunday. And not to cop out, but as you were talking there, that's probably it for me just in terms of an individual moment. I think that was the 2019 season, and that was a huge win for the Colts. They started 5-2 that year before it kind of crumbled there towards the end. And I would just speak more towards his toughness, his mindset. I mean, you think about just the whirlwind that was that 2019 season. It was August 24th, 2019, where Andrew Luck retires, and they played a game, a week and a half later. And that was, can you imagine being put in that situation all of a sudden? Now you're the franchise quarterback, or at least the starting plan for that season when, expectations-wise, that team was ready to go. That team was stacked, and it's kind of like this year's team. They had a lot of important pieces in place that you need to have in place to be successful in the NFL to have a big season. So obviously it wasn't just all on him, but the way he handled that, the way he was able to, step in and lead, I'll never forget that. And I was actually just talking with Jack Doyle this week. Jack and I do our podcast every Tuesday, and he's like, obviously I'm going to be rooting for the Colts, but if Jacoby has to start, that's going to be a tough situation for me to be in because of his affinity for Jacoby. He still calls Jacoby one of his best friends. And I think he had that level of a lasting mark in the locker room on a lot of guys, not just Jack Doyle, because of his character, the way he worked. He was just a really good teammate. And so those are the things that I remember most about Jacoby Brissett. Interesting guy. He was kind of, from a personality standpoint, he kind of had that dry, snarky wit a little bit.
He was
and
feisty.
So you had to bring your A game sometimes to get some, some information out of him in the locker room. But it was all in fun, and most of it was in jest. So, wish him a tremendous amount of luck the rest of the season, no matter how many starts he gets the rest of the year.
Mate, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Andrew Luck listed him on his resume when he applied for
He was a reference.
the GM job out there in Stanford.
How about that?
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding
I
you.
did not
True
know
story.
that. Wow.
I would list the guy that I worked for at the golf course back in the day. Andrew Luck listed Jacoby Brissett.
Speaks to his character.
It was the only job Andrew had ever had before then.
Yeah, I guess so. Last one before we let you get out of here, Mate, IU Oregon. You're an IU guy. How you feeling about the game?
I'm going in there with, if they lose this game, I won't be disappointed because of the atmosphere, because of where it is, and you're just facing I think the best team in college football this year. I'm a little bit nervous about the right side of that offensive line. I think, you go back 2 weeks ago, their last game, at Iowa, you got the noise, that first series, maybe it was the second series, Iowa took advantage of the right side of that offensive line. And I think I kind of changed the game plan and the aggressiveness and the mindset of IU in that game. And instead of trying to just be who they were, I think they tried to kind of shrink the game a little bit and, run the ball a little bit more and stay away from the matchups on that side of the offensive line. They've got a lot of big bodies. They really do on both sides of that ball. I feel a little bit better. I saw the John Gruden breakdown on Barstool Sports yesterday. And by the way, not to take anything away from your guys' content, because I don't want to have people leave the show right now. But after the show, after 10 o'clock today, I always watch those. He's got 15-minute breakdowns on the game of the week, and they're good. They are really, really good. And obviously this week he did IU Oregon, and I feel better. He picked IU to win the game. I don't know if there's some affinity there because his dad coached IU. But I think it's going to be a heck of a game, but I won't be disappointed at all if Indiana loses. I think this is the one game they can afford to lose in the minds of everybody that is on the college football playoff committee. But I do think they have to play well. I do think they have to show up, because I think the reality is they are still fighting brand awareness more so than other teams that are in contention.
Matt Taylor, go have yourself a day. We'll hear from you again a little bit later on this evening. What do you have on tap for us tonight after JMV's show?
We got Colts Happy Hour tonight, yeah. So we got some breakdown with myself and Casey and Bill Brooks. We got some 4-down territory, top 4 storylines going into Colts and Cardinals. So we got that. We got a sit down with Rick Venturi. We also have chats coming up with Charles Arbuckle and some players inside the locker room. So always jam-packed 6 to 7 on the Colts Happy Hour.
All right, look for you then. Matt Taylor joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline.
Thank you, Matt.
We'll listen for you all weekend.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
There he is. Colts getting ready to go against the Cardinals, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Let's check things down. Chance to go 5-1 on the season when they play the Cardinals. Cardinals have lost 3 games in a row, Kevin Bowen, all at the gun, and they may be without their best player, certainly the player that makes them go right now on Sunday.
Yeah, so Kyler Murray's not practiced all week long with a foot injury. He did leave the game briefly, their loss to the Titans. So, yes, again, Jacoby Brissett would be starting against his former team, as Matt Taylor said. 30 career starts with the Colts. I just looked it up. I think it's 9th in franchise history. And I believe this is his first game back here. He's played for a lot of teams since he exited, but has not played back here, and obviously could be under center. So that'll be the big storyline news injury-wise coming up on this Friday. The Colts line continues to increase. They are north of a touchdown favorite here in Week 6.
Jumping all over that. James, by the way, as far as injuries for the Colts are concerned, probably not likely for Kenny Moore II, but what about Alec Pierce?
We'll see where things go today. Yeah, Kenny Moore has not practiced this week, looking like he will miss his 3rd straight game due to an Achilles. We did hear from him this week, and obviously he wants to get back out there sooner rather than later, but the Colts are probably going to be cautious there. And then Alec Pierce, we'll see if he practices today. He did not practice last Friday because he had a setback in the concussion protocol. Will he make it through this time and obviously advance to playing on Sunday?
All right, we'll wait and find out on that one. Elsewhere in the AFC South, the Seahawks play at the Jaguars on Sunday. Titans at the Raiders. The Texans are on a bye, and your first football game Sunday morning will come from Tottenham Stadium, where the Broncos and Jets get your Sunday underway. Indiana Pacers back at home tomorrow night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's the second game of their preseason schedule. But we got some tough news regarding the backcourt yesterday, Kevin. This one might be tough to take.
Yeah, so they will be out, or that would be TJ McConnell, will be out for at least a month with that left hamstring injury there. So they signed Cam Payne, veteran who's been in the league for quite a while. I would assume he is the backup now to Andrew Nembhard. So, again, point guard depth already was thin, and given how much Rick Carlisle wants multiple ball handlers out on the floor, that stresses it even more. So, not ideal by any means here. I can think of over the course of an 82-game season, McConnell right now, whatever, he's going to miss 10, 15 games. We'll have to wait and see. But I would recall probably a handful of times last year where I was like, TJ McConnell changed the game. And, he might be missing now for 1 or 2 of those games in the first, month or so of the season. So, again, less than ideal for the Pacers. They will play the Thunder tomorrow night, and 3 more preseason games left.
And James, more injury news in the NBA. Announced yesterday LeBron James will be out at least 3 to 4 weeks with sciatica, which is a problem with your nerves and your lower back and down the legs there. But it's also a variable timeline. Everybody's a little bit different. And his doctor said yesterday he's on his own timeline. So maybe tough start for LeBron James and the Lakers this season.
Yeah, year 23, NBA record whenever he gets out there to play. And I'm not surprised that something has popped up like this. LeBron has been arguably the most durable NBA player ever, considering the amount of games he's played throughout his career. And at some point you're going to get old, and we're seeing that with stuff like this. So he'll turn 41, I think, in December. So we'll see what that means for the Lakers. But, yeah, I think for our purposes, we're more worried about T.J. McConnell.
Yep, no question about that. College football tomorrow. IU, Oregon. That one starts at 3:30. You'll be able to listen to that one over on WIBC 93.1 on Saturday because the end of their game will probably run into the Pacers pregame, and we do the Pacers here. So 2:30 will be the pregame show, 3:30 kick time between number 3 Oregon, number 7 IU. We've been talking about this all week. We've been talking about it a lot this morning. And I think the big key is, can you move the football on what has been a top 5 NCAA defense in Oregon so far this year? Got to be able to keep up.
Yeah, it should be a hell of a game. Can't wait for this one. Again, College game day will be there. We'll see if the rain indeed comes. So obviously one of the more anticipated college football games of the year, one of the most anticipated games ever for the Indiana football program. So I cannot wait. 3:30 CBS, Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson and company.
Other games we'll keep an eye on. Purdue taking on Minnesota on the road, North Carolina State at Notre Dame. Also, high school football later on tonight. Some pretty big games going on in Week 8 right now. James, of this group, which one are you most excited to see? Lawrence North at Center Grove, Warren Central at Carmel, Fishers at Westfield, or Chittard at Tri-West?
I might go Chittard at Tri-West. I feel like that's a very big matchup. Tri-West is on one this year, but then Chittard, I feel like every year they're really good. I remember covering a game there years ago, and those dudes can ball.
I'm thinking about maybe heading out if my kids want to go over to the Warren Central Carmel game. That might be kind of fun if the weather's still not too cold tonight. I'm starting to get old about that stuff. Grab a blanket. Mark's over there throwing shade. Not even in the room for the last 20 minutes. He walks back.
I don't know, Jeff. I feel like you
shade.
kind of set yourself up for that one.
All
You
right.
can't be talking about I might be thinking about going to a game and it might be cold. Like, it's not.
We're
We're in December here.
If you're scared by a dog.
I'm just comfortable these days. That's all. And then we got the sectional draw on Sunday. You'll be able to hear that one on WIBC 93.1 between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. at night. So a lot going on, including Major League Baseball. Cubs will play Game 5 of their best-of-5 divisional series against Milwaukee on the road tomorrow night, 8:08. Mark Dykton, where will you be stopping to watch that baseball game, or will you already have arrived at your vacation
My
destination?
ass better be in Florida at my mother-in-law's house by the time that game is throwing their first pitch. So I will be plopping on the couch. It's probably the only time she has sports on in the house, but she'll know what's up. And I'll be like,
I need better family. I need family that lives in Florida. I have no family that lives in Florida, man.
That's how we're able to afford to do the Disney things.
I know.
We do her Florida residency.
I'm looking at the family tree right now in my head, Mark, and I'm not seeing many benefits coming from where everyone's located.
James, you wanna hop in? I mean, we can use the help, brother. You want to drive a little bit?
I was like a little entertainment in the back seat, trying to keep the girls distracted. With some. We had Nora in here. We were on the whiteboard for a little while, where you got things finished up. So
she keeps asking, she's like, "Where's Uncle James?" I'm like, "He's there.
Hey,
he's here."
He's busy with a jug of beer right now. That's what's going on there.
You know it. I don't know about James with
I was
the
going
jug
to say
of beer,
the non-drinker, yes, very much so.
Cubs have advanced to that Game 5 because they won 6-0 last night against the Brewers. Also, the Dodgers closed out the Phillies 2-1 in 11 innings on a walk-off error.
You got to be sick to your stomach if you're a Phillies fan or player
that hurts,
today.
Man.
Just
that hurts.
That's brutal. And as much as that play obviously will get played over and over again, that lineup and you only score 1 run in 11 innings.
Yeah.
And can you imagine? Can you imagine being a Phillies fan like, oh God, that was a gut punch. But at least the Eagles are on tonight, or so you watch that game.
Throw in, Penn State's been doing well.
Yeah.
If you want to extrapolate it, though, yesterday the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Flyers all lost. Flyers have just started their regular season in the NHL. Tough day for the Philly fans yesterday.
I'm glad MLB tiered it so that you can watch the Phillies lose and then the Eagles get smashed by the Giants. That was well done.
All right. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we head off here?
Yeah, rest in peace to the legend that was Sister Jean, 106 years old. Obviously, when Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers, made that magical run, she was quite a big story in all of that. So rest in peace to an absolute legend. I should say college basketball legend, but honestly, it probably extends much more than that. And then I'm not a huge Savannah Bananas follower, but I know this has got a lot of local ties. I guess they announced some of their games that will be coming up next year. And the Indianapolis Clowns, which, again, I think for people that know our sport history here, certainly
You're talking about me for a second.
much more
Indianapolis
than
Clown.
sport. Rich history in the Negro Leagues growing up, probably I would guess the 1930s you almost have to go back to there. I think Ryan Howard will have some involvement if I saw the video correctly last night there. So, again, I know there are a lot of people out there that do follow the Savannah Bananas much closer than I, but seem to be kind of a cool announcement with their continued growth. I want to say they'll play in Great American Ballpark coming up next year. A lot of different venues, some college football stadiums as well. And Indianapolis Clowns, I think it's an ode to, kind of don't act like they were exactly Savannah Bananas before that, but I do think from an entertainment value, they provided a lot of that back in the day and plenty of star-studded players for that team.
All right. We'll also tell you some of the smaller colleges also with very important games for their programs coming up this weekend. We've got Indianapolis taking on Missouri State this weekend. In one of the games I'm looking forward to, I think Marion is at Anderson. That'll be kind of fun. Anything else in the small colleges you're looking forward to this week, Kevin?
Boy, I'm not gonna lie. If I knew the small college schedule here in the state, then Maddie might divorce me.
Well, so that's where we're all at. South Dakota playing at Indiana State.
I don't know
Butler
much.
home against Presbyterian at 1.
I don't know much,
Saturday.
but Marion versus Anderson sounds like a significant mismatch. Is that really a game that's happening? Marion football versus Anderson football?
It's actually Bluffton and Anderson. Sorry about that.
Oh,
yeah.
So.
I messed up my lines there. I know it's hard for you to believe, James Boyd, but I did that. I might be one of those Indianapolis Clowns, too, before it's all said and done.
Hey, like I said, I got room on the bandwagon here. I'm not going to say like I'm not a clown, some of the things I've said on these airwaves.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we will hear from some of the key principals for the Indianapolis Colts as they get ready to take on the Cardinals. Coming up on Sunday afternoon right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Getting ready for a lot of football this weekend, and I know James Boyd out of his chair again, grooving, rolling. This is Club James Boyd sometimes in the morning.
Yeah, I feel like
it.
whenever I hear some of these songs, it's like, in the movie when your life's getting better. And I feel like that's when the weekend comes. Yeah, my life's getting better.
Life's gotten better for everybody over at West 56. No question about that, off to a 4-1 start. And we've talked about this a little bit, but you knew you had a terrific group of receivers. Like we've known that. Just looking for a guy that could execute the offense and not make mistakes, and Daniel Jones has been that and more. But I almost wonder how much of this success is just having that tight end that you got to worry about wherever he is on the field. Is he going to go out and kill me on a catch here? Is he going to smash somebody and seal an edge? Is he going to run the football on 4th and 1? I love the variability that Tyler Warren presents with this football team.
Absolutely. I think he's their number one option in the passing game. And from what I understand, it's just harder to scheme up for a tight end because, like you said, Jeff, if he's blocking at this rate this well early in his career, it's hard to kind of tip your hand. I mean, he could line up in line, and you don't know if they're going to pass it or run it, and he'll be effective in both. So I do think that everyone in that wide receiver room has benefited from his arrival. And now that will take away some catches from those guys, but hey, when your offense is this high-powered, I don't think you can complain too much about the arrival of Tyler Warren.
Yeah, Bob Cooter was talking about this in his weekly press conference this week about what having a weapon that can be used in so many different ways like Tyler Warren presents for a football team like the Colts and their offense.
And for a young tight end in this league, sometimes it can be mentally a lot. There can be a lot of learning going on. The tight end position, I don't think fans at home realize how complex that position is.
It's like the steepest learning curve in the NFL.
You got to run block like an offensive lineman. You got to run routes like a receiver. You got to understand the protection game like an offensive lineman. You got to be able to make all the calls and understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Tyler's done such a great job of coming in, not only learning, sort of our system, but learning all the different nuances that come within. All right, if the defensive end lines up, head up, you got to do this. If he's outside, you got to do this. Well, if the linebacker blitzes, you got to do that. All these things happen at the tight end position, and he's really done a good job of being able to manage all that information and go out and play good football. So that gives us confidence to try him in some different spots, to put him in some different areas.
That is the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts, Bob Cooter. And Kevin, he's even thrown a pass already in the first 5 games. There's nothing he can't do.
Yeah, and that available Colts podcast, I know JJ Stankovitz does a nice job with that audio from there. And yeah, they've obviously used Warren a ton. I mean, the little wrinkle that I think you saw Sunday was Jonathan Taylor. And again, the run game wasn't great for the Colts on Sunday. Jonathan Taylor had his, I think, lowest total of the season.
Yes, he did.
But his longest run was a play where they lined up Warren at fullback. They faked it to Warren in short yardage and pitched it to Taylor. And again, that's a wrinkle off of they obviously gave it to Warren earlier this season on a fullback play in short yardage. So, that's what Shane Steichen and Bob Cooter are doing right now is they went into the season with, all right, here are the Tyler Warren plays we want to involve him, and now once they have success, how can you throw wrinkles off of it? And clearly they're already starting to do that. So I would agree with James. As balanced as the pass catchers are, that's their best weapon. That's their most dynamic one. And it's saying something because I do think they have a lot of great balance. I don't think we talked enough about Josh Downs. I know I brought that 3rd and 12 play where he broke a few tackles on Monday, but I thought Downs he has such an innate knack for getting open. And it might not be the most obvious thing, but, 3rd and 4, find Josh Downs and move the chains.
Yeah. Could you imagine being a linebacker trying to cover that?
No.
You're dead.
I just think
cover either of them.
And
they're both.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like every time, though, this is the difference between, I think, Josh and some of the other guys on the team. He'll catch the ball short of the sticks, and then he'll still get to the sticks or get past them because he'll make the first guy miss almost every time. If you put him out in short yardage area space and you're trying to chase him down or you're trying to get him on the ground, you're going to miss every time. So I think that's an uncanny ability that he has that is kind of underrated because is it like, the long, deep ball that Alec Pierce will bring in? Is it, Tyler Warren, running a guy over? No. But, man, he is savvy, and the dude knows how to use, I think, leverage and angles better than most at his position.
Well, I would think any play caller in Shane Steichen's got to love the fact that all the things you just talked about, Kevin, with Tyler Warren, there's so many little wrinkles now. Already in the first 5 weeks, he's thrown a pass. He's run the football. He's chipped and then gone out on a pattern. He's lined up a little bit in the slot and gone out on patterns. So you've got that. You've got Michael Pittman Jr. You talk about Josh Downs or Alec Pierce. You talk about all these weapons. And then you got JT in the backfield. Like, you are giving defenses a ton to worry about every time you come up to the line of scrimmage.
One thing to keep an eye on for Sunday is, and I think our fantasy football knowers know the name, but Trey McBride is right up there with Tyler Warren in terms of receiving threats at tight end in this league. I would assume no matter who's playing quarterback, they'll want to get him involved. And again, Mooney Ward, to me, this is a shadow assignment on Marvin Harrison Jr. So if he is limited, then Trey McBride would be the one area where have the Colts had troubles defensively? Linebacker. How much is that at play here? Is that a Nick Cross assignment? Does Cam Bynum, come more up from his free safety spot? Just something to keep an eye on for
I'll
Sunday.
tell you what, Nick Cross is certainly big enough to be a linebacker. That dude is jacked. Every time I see him in the locker room, I'm like, how are you a strong safety? But I guess he put strong in that word because that dude has had a really good year so far, and he usually will, put a lick on you when it comes to anywhere near the box or over the middle. One other thing I wanted to point out when it comes to the Colts, and I'm got to go to break here real quick, but when I look at what the Cardinals have done offensively, I mean, they have 2 pass catchers who have over 65 receiving yards, only 2 through 5 games. I can't take credit for that stat. That was brought to my attention by Joey Erickson of Indy Star, but the fact that they're that limited passing should let you know what you should do defensively. So, yeah, shadow Marvin Harrison Jr., make sure you keying in on Trey McBride and make sure, if they do have some plays that are chunk plays, it ain't about those 2 guys. I mean, you got to beat me with somebody else.
Well, it's 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Lucas Oil Stadium, Colts and Cardinals, and we'll tell you more about that in a moment, including our predictions for both that game and the IU-Oregon game. Coming up next, it's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. All right, we've gotten to the end of the week. Friday is upon us. I know that you guys will be going out to Colts practice in a little while. I got a few things to do around here, but Mark Dykton is gone in about 12 minutes. I mean, gone.
I've been gone for a while, but Kevin, I think, wants me out of here ASAP with what I was saying.
Mark, we do have people asking, do you have an update on the plumbing situation?
Okay, yes, I do, actually. So we're out of the hotel, back at home. Had to make some phone calls yesterday and stuff, so we're getting all that done and whatnot. So it was a bit of a to-do, but shout out to Jake Miller Plumbing. A listener had recommended them. Said they're great. They'll make time for you. They came out, said, yep, looks like you have some roots in some piping. Somebody half-assed this work back in the day. Gave us a price. Also gave us a couple options of what we could do before we make that jump into the financial desert that we would be in. So we're going to go the one route first, see how it goes. But if not, we know that our alternative is that. But, so root issue. So not fun at all.
I
but
just want
we
to
have
know
a solution now.
How to go with the hotel after their plumbing didn't work when you moved in there for the night.
Oh, yeah, that was boy, that's why I have a stock of blueberry muffins. I'm getting mine before I get out of here. I was just like, what the hell was this and everything. So they apologized. We've got some.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, right. You went in there and told them, hey, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, so we took care of business there. Nora got to play in the pool a little bit while Dad was making plumbing phone calls, so she enjoyed that as well.
What a life to be a kid,
we were taken care of. So, yeah, it all worked out so far, and if any major stuff has to get done, it's getting done after we get back, because I'm not doing that today. So
my boy, get on the road, just get away from real life.
I've never been more excited to get in a car and drive for hours to Florida than I am now. All it takes is some plumbing issues as a homeowner. Who would have known?
Well, travel safe. I hope the weather cooperates for you, and you have a good time, man. That's how that rolls. All right, we ready to do some Colts and IU prediction before we get out of here?
Sure. Do we want to start Saturday since that's the first one up?
You're in charge here. Make it happen.
IU Oregon. Give me your selections here. What are we doing out in Eugene? We coming back with a dub, or are the Ducks puddle walking all over us?
27-17 Ducks.
I've got 31-20 Ducks. Just under the over-under, by the way.
Let's get crazy. I'll go 31-28 IU.
I'm going 30-24 Oregon.
All right. James, you could be the outlier. James still, saw what they did to Illinois. He's like, yeah, they can beat anybody.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, I feel like it's also a bad juju if everyone picks like the same team. It's like,
Every time our station predictions come out, and if we all are like on one pick, everybody's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and this isn't a troll pick. I honestly think IU
worked
is
last
pretty
week,
good.
right?
So.
Colts Raiders.
Yeah.
And by the way,
they're the Raiders.
Lister Greg sent in a picture of today's Wall Street Journal with a big article on the finance nerd who might be college football's next great quarterback, and it's all about Mendoza. So how about that?
Yeah, there was a really good, what do they call the Big Ten Network? Like behind the scenes.
I did see that.
I forget what they call it. But Fernando Mendoza's mom has MS, and just really well done. Alberto, of course, is his brother. He's the backup quarterback for those not totally following the full Mendoza story. But yeah, Buffalo's, I think it's Buffalo's have a burger that all proceeds go to that. So really well done. And like, again, I'm not going to pretend to know Mendoza, but he seems like a really, really good kid, good dude, and obviously a lot
player
at stake coming up tomorrow out there in Eugene.
I certainly hope I'm wrong. I hope that Indiana finds a way to just maybe cause some turnovers, get some offense going, and roll. How about that? Let's get it going.
I mean, it always comes down to that, right? Can you get a couple breaks to go your way on the road? Can you get a couple fluky plays?
Again, Oregon was not thought to be this absolute juggernaut this season. I mean, Dante Moore barely played in college football.
Right.
And this was not supposed to be, the preseason vaunted number one team in the land. Obviously, they're still Oregon. They're still very good. But they lost a lot from last year's team that was the 1 seed and lost in the quarterfinals.
31-28, walk-off field goal for the win.
Are you sure that's not a troll, knowing how you usually operate?
No, it's not. I think I got beat into submission after that Illinois game.
That was a painful week that he had to dress up.
It was.
All right, let's move to Sunday. Colts Cardinals. First of all, I guess we should say, do we think Kyler Murray is going to play A? And then B, what is your prediction for the score?
Oh, that's a good question.
And will Jacoby Brissett bang the anvil? I'm still on board that needs to happen.
That would honestly be hilarious. I think if he does play, he might be compromised, which would not be good for the Cardinals. So I'm going Colts. 31-17. I feel like they're going to keep scoring at a high rate. You might get a couple of touchdowns there or a couple of scores there late, but I think this will be a game that is decided fairly early, and they'll just hang on and cruise to a victory.
I like the Colts all day long with everything. 34-16. Give me some anytime touchdowns for both JT and Tyler Warren in this one.
16. Okay, 34-16.
Go 23.
Nothing but field goals for them.
Go 23-13 Colts. I do think Arizona's defense deserves some credit. They have been pretty good this season. I should note a couple things. One, their fourth quarter play, Arizona has been horrific this season. They actually have won the first, second, and third quarters of their games. They've been more than doubled up in the fourth quarter. And, I don't want to overreact by what I saw yesterday on the practice field, but Michael Badgley and long-distance field goals, I think, will be a big debate for Shane Steichen all season long. So if this game were to get close and if you get into any of those situations, I'll be very curious to see how aggressive Shane Steichen is when it comes to that. But, yeah, 23-13 Colts.
I am treating the Cardinals like I treated the Raiders. The Colts should handle their business. I don't care who's under center. Colts roll 33-17.
Would you rather play Jacoby Brissett or an injured Kyler Murray? Or a non-able-to-run Kyler Murray?
I'd probably take the injured player every time.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, probably if he's injured, though, you are going to see both guys at some point because they're going to say, okay, this isn't worth it. Jonathan Gannon's going to pull him out and everything like that. Do we get Adonai Mitchell and Amari DiMercato? Do we get one of them to cross the goal line and get a touchdown?
I think each
That's actually a great question.
Actually, I think each coach should send them out for the coin toss, and the ref should be who can catch the coin. That
my
should
God.
be the coin toss.
And give it back to the
Sunday.
ref without dropping it.
But they're like the coin will land like straight up, and it won't land on either side.
Correct.
And then no one scores.
Only Mark's brain works like that. I forgot about
All right,
that.
so Mark, we know you're looking forward to the Cubs game tomorrow night more than anything, and then you got the Bears on Sunday night. Like, are you just going to your in-laws and saying, hey, leave me alone for the next 2 evenings?
Well, the Bears are Monday night, and if the Cubs win on Saturday, you know what that means. It means double dip, NLCS Game 1 and Monday Night Football on Monday night. So I will be in, like, Ashley will be doing something, but she won't be watching sports with me. I'll be like, you guys go do whatever you want. I need to watch these games.
That might be the day to take the kids without you over to Disneyland and just say you're on your own tonight.
She might. That'd be a tall order, but I will be incapacitated.
Make sure that the kids, they have a special Halloween thing going on for all the kids with a bunch of candy and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
at
I
Disney
know.
World.
They are well aware. They already got the bags set up.
All right. Sounds good. Kevin, what are you looking forward to most this weekend? There's a lot going on for you, too.
Yeah, certainly 3:30 tomorrow. I think that speaks for itself. It's arguably one of the biggest games. Not even arguably, it's one of the biggest games in that program's history. So, Indiana, Oregon, 3:30 tomorrow. You've got my attention. Great slate. Again, Pacers home preseason game. Purdue as a night game. So you've got a ton there. Setting us up for Colts and Cardinals, 1 o'clock on Sunday.
All right, James.
I believe Butler has an open practice tomorrow, so
at 10:30 if you want to stop by Hinkle, and then they got a football game at 1, so you could do the double dip.
There you go.
So that's what you got going on this weekend. Looking forward to that.
I might actually go over there. I'm a basketball junkie. I told the IU Indy coach I'll probably try to check them out sometime this year as well. We'll get into that overlap period of the calendar, but overall it's a good slate, and so I know I'll have to get all my responsibilities done by 3:30 tomorrow because I'm not doing anything once that game comes on.
All I know is it's going to be a busy Saturday, and just on my favorites page, I've got North Carolina State and Notre Dame, Iowa State, Colorado, Indiana, Oregon, Thunder and Pacers tomorrow night, Purdue, Minnesota as well. So take your pick. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Enjoy the weekend. Jake at noon, JMB at 3.